I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.
All right. Good morning, JFW. Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Welcome back in the studio, Jim White, Brother Dave White, Super Dave Weldon, and our special guest today, Tammie Little.
Morning, everybody. Morning, Tammie.
Hi, everybody.
Morning, JFW.
Good morning.
In our usual fashion, we're going to kick this podcast off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I can feel the energy in the room today.
It's kind of funny. I think I mess it up reading it, but I can recite it better than it's like from school or something. You
Yeah.
know, if I'm looking at it and trying to read it, I mess it up.
Teachers looking at you.
Yeah.
Right? Whenever I say it, I visualize myself. I'm like, am I in third grade? Like standing up, looking at the flag at the front of class?
That's good stuff.
Because they don't do that anymore, right?
They do.
Bella School does.
Sam does it every day at Legacy. It's just your choice.
I kind of thought they nixed it because of all the politically correct BS that's out there nowadays.
Yeah, Legacy
Yes,
High
it's
School
correct.
still does it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So.
the politically incorrect, really. I mean, that's incorrect in my eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, Bella School still does it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That is good.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank goodness.
I was surprised. I mean, they don't do. You're just surprised.
Yeah.
That they do it.
Yeah, I guess I can't remember the girls saying they did it. You know, I don't know. Maybe I never asked. I don't know. That's awesome.
I didn't know Sam did it. I had to ask Jim.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah, I didn't-
shocked.
As a reminder, anything you hear on today's podcast is not the opinion of JFW or Rush Truck Centers. It's just our and Tammie's opinion. Tammie, are you opinionated?
Let's just try it.
Let's just try it. Okay, fair enough.
What would Rick say?
He would probably say yes. Very much so.
Awesome. Good stuff. Episode 71, last week's episode, had 591 downloads. That's pretty good.
Nice.
And we are at 28,244 downloads with 177 followers. Okay, the cool thing about these stats, one, our followers went up by 8, but it's a little bit skewed because these are Ambyr's people.
Ambyr's people.
Yeah, so some of them follow the, the Terry, Help Find Terry Ackerman page.
Right.
Some of them are relatives. So, thanks for following, and we hope you enjoy this podcast. Maybe it's something you'd be
Maybe
interested
they'll
in.
listen again.
Yeah. Speaking of listening again, the Czech Republic and the UK both have 3 downloads from
Nice.
from this month. So
Yeah.
to me,
that's awesome.
that's not a one-off. That's not, I just hit play by accident. Somebody in both those countries actually wants to listen to this. Feel bad for them.
Do they even drive on the same side of the road?
I don't know.
The UK does not. I know that.
What about Czech Republic?
I don't know.
Never been there. So did you guys hear about what happened when Mike Tyson got a flat tire? It was a really bad time.
Oh, man.
Well, I got it. That's a lot like mine, kind of. And since we're talking about worldwide listeners here, what is the difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi?
Oh,
I've
brother,
done this one
yeah,
before.
that was your
Gosh,
first
what was
dad
that?
joke.
Something about the
Dubai,
Flintstones.
Dubai doesn't, but Abu Dhabi do.
Abu Dhabi do.
Yeah, the people from Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but Abu Dhabi do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
Well, Rick Gray helped me out with mine this week,
Oh.
so I kind of modified it for myself here. That last week when I was on vacation, I went to the zoo, and they only had one animal. It was a dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
That's funny.
That's
Not
a pretty
bad.
good one.
Good,
Yeah,
Jim.
yeah.
That's good.
Well, I'll give this one credit to Big Country because I took it off the calendar that he gave me. I have a daily dad joke calendar, and this was actually Monday's. I thought it was better than today's. So, what did everyone call the teacher who carried her textbook in her pocket?
No idea.
Miss Smarty Pants.
Oh, now that's a
Miss
dad
Smarty
joke, right?
Tammy, you got a your mama joke?
Sure. When I was a kid, my mom told me I could be anyone I wanted to be. Turns out identity theft is a crime.
That's a,
Good.
that is a good one. Yeah.
that one. Yeah,
Good.
I like.
Dylan Harshman actually had a dad joke, so I'm going to just put this one out there. It's Dylan's. Do you guys know why Billy got fired from the banana factory?
Oh, that one sounds familiar.
Done it.
Kept slipping up or something.
Something to do with tailpipes.
He kept throwing the curved ones away.
Oh man.
Celebrations. Got a big celebration. Brother Dave brought this one up. Omar Santa Cruz. He had a baby girl on St. Patty's Day. Omar is referring to her as his good luck charm.
Yep.
And that is baby Mia Jade. Congrats, Omar.
Yeah, congrats,
Yeah,
Omar.
congratulations.
This is another big anniversary right here. Tanny Gutierrez, 1 year tomorrow.
Ah, congratulations,
Yeah,
Tanny.
Wow, that's awesome, Tanny.
Tanny, we like having you around here. This year went pretty quick. It seems like he just started.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, when I saw him yesterday, I wanted to wish him happy birthday. He was over and got a CB mic, and I was like, I'll wait and do the shout-outs, but I should have done it while he was here.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Happy
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah, yeah.
I could have been his birthday. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't
no.
see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I haven't heard from him this morning because that means the CB mic worked.
Right?
Oh, good, good, yeah.
Otherwise, I probably would have heard from him about 4:45 this morning.
Tanny's become a go-to player. I mean, he is. I must say, he's improved a lot culture-wise, and he's a go-getter, and he's definitely a go-to guy.
Yeah,
He's
I think there's been a
definitely-
lot of learning with the
Yeah.
cameras and his scores and
Yeah.
different stuff like that. But he seemed to listen openly and
Yeah.
and I guess take criticism. I guess if that's the stuff, and
Yeah.
grew from it.
Yeah, he's getting. He's getting.
constructive. Yeah,
He's
Teaching
getting,
moments.
He's getting known for doing the right things. around
Yeah.
here, so that's good. Birthdays, since we were talking about birthdays, Jesse Baeza, his birthday is this Friday. I think he's going to be, 21 again?
that was what 12, 13, something.
Oh, gosh. I want to say 27.
You're right. He's
Yeah.
going to be 27.
Wow, that's awesome. Happy birthday, Jesse.
Happy birthday, Jesse.
You could never
on.
tell.
Jesse James.
Jesse James. Family birthday celebrations. We got Vicky Vetter Holmes. Her birthday's tomorrow. And then Lola Romero. Her birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday to those two.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. I know Dustin's super proud of Lola. He had a little nickname for her. What did he call her on his social media? I can't remember. It was cute. Shout outs. Pedro Sotelo wanted to give a shout out to the night mechanics for getting his trucks fixed, and Chris and Ricky for when they worked on it too. So good job to the night mechanics as always. Linda wanted to give a congrats to Randy, Dustin, and Casey. They won the People's Choice Award. They got first place in the People's Choice at the backyard barbecue competition this past Sunday. It was a big event. There was 25 total teams. Great job. And if you haven't been up front, the trophy's on the front counter in the main yard. So, brother
That
Dave,
was the real deal
Yep.
up there, man. I'm telling you.
That was a big thing. I mean, way more than just a backyard challenge.
I expected
wasn't it,
a
Dave?
backyard
Yeah.
barbecue. Like, okay, they're going to be up there with 3 teams, and no, I mean there were literally hundreds of people walking around that whole facility. They were lined on 3 sides of the building. The only reason they didn't put them in the back is it's like an alley back there, And it just, I was dumbfounded when I went up there. It was a steady stream of people voting. They were constantly, putting tickets in the bag, handing out food, and it was to me, it was a bit intimidating if I were doing that for the first time, just because I'd never been around anything like that. I mean, it was hopping.
Yeah,
Well,
after a
Randy's
few
been
brews.
practicing.
Yeah.
He cooks all the time, and
Right.
he even cooked for us one day, and he's good, boy.
Yeah.
I call him Randy Ribs for a reason. His
Right.
ribs are outstanding. So
Yeah.
I know you obviously had Randy's ribs, and you probably put your ticket in his basket, right? Did you have?
I may have bought some extra tickets.
Did you? Gotcha. Okay, truth comes out. How was his ribs?
They were awesome. I was a little taken back. I'm not going to lie. I guess I'm not a rib connoisseur. I just like ribs, right?
Right.
I mean, I just go eat them. I'm not the guy that, this, that, too much, you know what I mean? None of that stuff. But I was taken back because they were sweet.
Right.
And I guess I just anticipated more of the, the smoky, traditional type
Gotcha.
smoked barbecue ribs. And
Yeah,
these were sweet. But I mean, they did that on purpose. It was good. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, People's Choice Award, right?
Yeah, the people have spoken. That's what's important to me.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the people say it's the best than some judge.
Yeah, I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
There was no meat left on the bone when I threw that plate away.
So Randy brought in 2 samples of sweet ribs before the competition. One was honey something, and the other one I want to say, I'm just going to call it a sweet habanero, and I think that's what he did for the competition. But
Gotcha.
They were fire. They were real good. What was a motivating factor for you to go to that competition, Brother Dave?
I just wanted to see the guys up there and support,
Nice.
show support. And for a change, I had time.
Nice.
You know what I mean? I wasn't at a swim meet or some event or
Right.
some function or something. And I'm like, hey, let's go. My wife had a luncheon that she was headed to with a bunch of friends. And I grabbed Sam. I was like, hey, let's run
Sweet.
up there.
Let's go get some
Here's our
barbecue.
2-hour window. Let's go get it done, and enjoyed it. So it was nice.
Now, did you try anyone else's food over there?
No.
No?
No.
Just what did they call themselves? The Left Lane Barbecue?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I don't know his last name, but Chris, who's the manager at LG Fort Lupton, came up with his wife.
Oh.
And I don't know how he put 2 and 2 together. Obviously, he must have saw Randy had a JFW patch that he sewed in the center of his apron.
Oh, okay.
And then he was standing up there with a big, I'll call it a sombrero, but it's not a sombrero.
It's like
but this massive
hybrid sombrero,
straw,
cowboy hat.
Sun hat kind of thing.
But I mean, you've seen big versions of that. I've never seen a version this big. I mean, he was in the shade no matter where he was at. Let me put it this way, right? But anyway, it was funny. Chris was standing there eating the ribs, talking to Randy, and he goes, "Yeah, I work up at LG Fort Lupton." And Randy's like, "Oh, I got you. What's your name?" And he goes, "Chris." And it was really funny because Randy says, "What do you do up there?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm El Jefe."
Oh, that's funny.
Randy goes, "Oh, you're the boss." And he says, "Yeah." And man, Randy didn't skip a beat. It was hilarious. He goes, "Oh, so you're the guy I called when there were all those CB problems up there in your loader?" He was like, "Yeah, that was me."
Oh, that's funny.
So it was cool.
That is cool.
And he enjoyed the ribs, it looked like. So
Nice. Next shout out. Hi, Jam. I wanted to give a shout out to Joanne and Ambyr for the tireless effort working on getting my medical and dental coverage in place over the last 3 weeks. I really appreciate everything that they do. Rico 0071. Great shout out for the girls up here.
Nice.
They do work hard.
Yeah, good one for behind the scenes that
Yep.
we don't realize what all has to be done and taken care of and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, those ladies, they care. They care about everybody here. So
Yep.
good deal. Then I got a text this morning from Ismael Rodriguez. He said, "Hey, Jam, I want to give a shout out to 0024 Mike for being a great trainer and going out of his way to help." 0043 Ismael. So another great shout out for Mike Bortz.
right.
Yeah, he gets a lot of shout outs for his training.
His trainees love him.
Yeah, passionate about
Yeah.
that. Yep.
I know if I was training, I get no shout outs. Jam's mean and he doesn't have any patience.
I think the passion is contagious, and
Yeah.
that's what we need in that area. For these brand new people that just come on board, and I say this a lot, they're looking around to see what the culture really is here. And when they see that passion right out of the gate, it definitely is absorbed by the new folks,
That's cool.
Yeah, whenever you mention training or we talk about it, I probably have mentioned it on the podcast before, but the one guy was training just in the tandem, and it was his first time driving a big truck, and he missed the turn. And I'm like, "Oh, we'll have to turn around and go back. You missed the turn." And he just stopped right in the middle of the street and started to turn the tandem around in the middle of the street. And to this day, it just like, you have to pick your words. Like, you need to go down here and turn around. And he just tried to turn around the middle of the road, and it was like a 10-minute thing back and forth, blocking the road until we got turned around.
Cars honking.
Yeah, Dave, it was like,
You're
oh my
sinking down in
God.
your seat.
Yeah, you just wanted to sink down. I was like, okay, I learned that lesson on how to train.
Quick, roll down your window and put your hand over the J on the door. Don't want anybody to see this.
That FW trucking.
Yeah, that's what we're doing to the road right now. It's just
Right.
kind of effing it up.
You guys got any shout outs?
Yeah, I wanted to mention Ambyr for last week for covering for me while I was on vacation there and filling in, and hopefully it worked out well. I know several people. Holly listened to the podcast yesterday, and I talked to Brother Dave about it and stuff. But that just to mention it again, try to keep the traction on for finding her mom or ever hearing any news. And I know I discussed it with her before we left, and the anniversary coming up, her missing, in August there, and then her birthday last week. So important stuff.
There needs to be some type of action we can create on that. And after having her on and hearing the whole story and all of that, there has to be some type of action we can ask all of our people to get involved in and do. And I don't know what that is yet, but I haven't let go of it, and I'm not stopping on it. But we need to come up with some plan to help her.
Yeah.
Because, talking about it is good, but we're only touching X amount of people, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be a bigger push than that, and it needs to be a push from the police agencies that are involved,
Yeah. Trying to get it moved out of Lockbuoy to Weld County. I know Eric Burnham, he had some good advice for Ambyr, other agencies she could look at. But yeah, we can't let this thing die. we'll keep talking about it on the podcast. I know we joke about us being worldwide, but our reach, is comparatively small to what it needs to be for something like
For
this.
something like this, yeah.
I was listening to the Men in the Arena podcast last week, and this guy, it's the #1 Christian podcast for men on Spotify right now. And he's like, oh, yeah, last month we broke our record. We had 50,000 downloads in a month.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, yeah, we got some work to do. You know what I mean? So,
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
On Ambyr, what are you?
So her mom went missing 5 years ago here in August, and she has no closure. She doesn't know. None of us know what happened to her mom. She doesn't know. Just disappeared, and there's some suspicion of her husband. Just foul play.
And her husband's son.
Yes, yeah.
And there are some things there, Tammie, that when she explained everything that went on and how she explained it, and a person like yourself couldn't let that go.
Sure.
There's people in the police department that aren't doing their job, and there are answers that need to be answered that they've just stopped asking. They're not moving forward and pursuing it.
Yeah,
and it's not right on all levels. I mean, anyone who hears when you're just given this blank slap in the face information, you're wowed by what? They're not doing anything with this. They're not questioning that person. They're not, it is dumbfounding how it appears black and white, right? But it's almost like we're missing that one key piece.
Sure.
That's either keeping the police from doing their job or they're overwhelmed. And this was something that it's just not to them, not to Ambyr, but to them it might not be an important enough cold case to go work on. But at the 7-year mark in 2 more years, she can officially be claimed deceased, and the husband would receive a small insurance policy benefit. And I mean, just all of these pieces that come together, and you're like, what? Why isn't the husband and the stepson being looked
Sure.
at closer? I mean, all the information she gave us.
yeah.
And correct me if I'm
You're
wrong.
just wowed by it, I guess.
That insurance policy was taken out shortly before her disappearance.
2
Yeah,
months.
2 months.
Yeah, why isn't the husband raising hell to find her?
Yeah.
Like, where is he at? Why, like Ambyr and her family and the aunt,
I mean, why did the husband call the police department and say she's missing
and not even tell
before
her?
even talking to Ambyr?
Right,
I
there's-
mean, he claimed he called the police department at 6 p.m. and registered her as a missing person, and then 2 hours later at 8 p.m. called her daughter,
Right.
Ambyr.
And they were super tight.
Now, is Ambyr an employee of yours?
Yeah.
She is.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the missing piece is, and I don't want to really correlate this with the TV programs because TV is just TV, but whenever you see these cases on Dateline or 2020 or whatever, there's always that one passionate inspector or detective.
Yeah.
Or even that, and I bet you guys and people listening to have read or heard about that gal that is that DNA genealogist lady. Have you heard about her? And she's like this super sleuth that puts all of these pieces together, and then they look for the guy's discarded cigarette, and then they pick it up on the street, and boom, they have the DNA to link him to his nephew or whatever that killed the person or whatever. But I think this case is lacking that passionate detective that just that tireless person.
Like you mentioned, Dave, it's
You know.
TV, but I half-heartedly made the joke. We need Bosch. We need that Bosch detective
Right.
that
Yeah.
shows up and is relentless on it. Because there is wrongdoing that happened here, and
Absolutely.
those 2 men know about it.
You bet. they
It's
do.
hands down. Those 2 men know about it.
Yeah, we need Dexter too.
That or you just
Right?
need enough money that somebody goes, the loyalty to them, if they've ever spoken about it,
Right.
is given up.
Well, they are putting up a $10,000 reward is what they're trying to do. I think there's some pieces to that puzzle to put together, but yeah, I think they are going to start offering some cash. So
I know Ambyr mentioned they had a GoFundMe page, back
Shut
when
down.
in time,
Yep.
and they received money, some donations and stuff. She never said how much, and we never asked. But she said her worry is they're actually sitting on that money to hire an attorney, Tammie, to at the 7-year mark when when the husband collects the insurance funds to fight that,
Contest it.
contest it.
Oh,
Which, I mean, she knows the money's there and knows she's going to need an attorney to fight that. But I would rather take that money and pool it towards a detective and solve that
Absolutely.
rather than waiting. But I'm not the one in charge of that. I mean, I don't even know how to help or who to call or what I mean. It's a conundrum because there's a lot of political issues, I think, as far as meaning the police department politically, and I don't know how all that is charged. And Loch Buoy is not a good police department. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's not. When we did some looking,
Sure, it's just very small. Don't you think? Like 20 people.
Couple police officers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the one person that was the sergeant at the time, the lady out there, she was the sergeant at the time of the murder, right, Jam?
Sergeant
she was
Southern.
fired from Denver Police Department for over 30 allegations of sexual
Sex on duty.
sex
Yeah.
on duty at Denver
Sex on
PD.
duty. But they ended up rehiring her in Denver, so there was some stuff going on there. And then obviously she left the DPD to go to Loch Buoy. She was the sergeant at the time.
Now
she's
she's
now a
lieutenant.
lieutenant over at Loch Buoy. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, if you Google her, she comes right up. That's the first thing is the scandal.
Yeah, and then the whole information with the truck, the husband had his favorite, I think it was a white pickup. Why do I want to say white?
A white pickup. No, that is right.
Anyway,
a white
it was
pickup.
his favorite white pickup. He drove it like that was his baby. And when Amber showed up the next day, the pickup was gone. And Amber goes, "Hey, where's your pickup?" Well, the son-in-law, or not son-in-law, but stepson that we keep talking about, he had just started a hail repair business in Parker, which is still in business today. It's still functioning today. But anyway, the dad said, "Oh, it's having the hail damage repaired on it." And she was like, "Oh, okay." So then the pickup was back 2 weeks later with all the damage still on it. And then within 30 days, he sold the pickup.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right? I mean, just hearing these things, I mean,
Sure.
we're taught from a young age. If it looks like a fish and smells like a fish, it's probably a fish. We've got a whopper here. I mean, this is a big fish, but we can't. There's no proof of anything. So yeah, we need a call to action. Meaning, we need to come up with a plan saying, "Hey, we need every employee here to call Loch Buoy PD and ask to reopen this case," or we need every person here to call Weld County and take the case. And that's one of the things. Loch Buoy says they don't have the resources to investigate this further, but they won't pass it on to Weld County, which doesn't make any sense to us. If we didn't have the resources and someone else could help solve a murder or a missing person, we would naturally pass that on. So that seems weird there. I don't know if, maybe there's funding that's involved in that. Hey, if you can't solve this case and they're getting funding from the county or who knows, that's when I say it gets political.
Right.
I think it's like the people that collected money from COVID. You hear of all those hospitals that, if this person died of the flu, mark it down as COVID, we get $1,500 or 15. We heard all of that stuff, but I do believe that goes on in a situation like this. They probably get funding to solve these things, and if they pass it on, they lose the funding.
Yeah, but you'd also think as professionals, if they don't have the funding or the means to do it, that it's like a doctor that I'm I don't know, ears, nose, and throat specialist, but you have cancer, I'm going to get you to the cancer doctor.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So as a professional, as a police officer, you go, our office just doesn't have the funding or the resources. Let's get you to Weld County because we need to solve this.
Right.
I mean, that should be the passion of the police department, I guess. And
Well, you mentioned it, Dr. Jim, and it makes me, they're sworn to an oth. They take an oath.
So do policemen.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah, Dave.
doesn't the police
Is that where
officers
you're
as
going
well?
on that, Dave?
Exactly,
Yeah.
Dave, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems, I don't know,
It's fishy.
being swept under the carpet, buddy.
Right?
I'll tell you, it's
Right?
sad.
It's fishy.
not
Amber
right.
stopped me in the hall last, I don't know, probably Thursday, right after the podcast, and thanked me and thanked all of us, for putting that out there and everything. And I just said, Amber, I don't know how you cope. I'm sure some days are really rough, And I said, you're amazing for hanging in there and coping like that all the time because I don't know what I would do.
I
Yeah,
told
it's
her
the-
during the podcast, I couldn't let it go. I'm struggling to let it go right now.
I can tell.
You know what I
that.
mean? Because
Yeah.
there needs to be,
closure.
well, not only closure, but we need to help somehow. And it's this this not knowing what to do. That's what I'm saying. We need to have a call to action. What's our action? How do we help?
Right.
Otherwise, we just talk about it and everybody forgets about it. It
Yeah.
goes away.
We definitely need to get
Right.
with Amber and see
Yeah.
how she would like us to
Yeah.
help. So. Any other shout-outs or mentions before we move on?
Yeah.
No?
Just wanted to mention that, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, Jim. All right, so yesterday, or Monday, I should say, was the first day of spring.
Woo woo.
You read my notes. I put a woohoo right in there.
I thought that was early because typically the solstice is on the 21st or 22nd. Monday was the 20th, so I wonder why it was a day early.
That's something I didn't even think
Astrologically
about.
speaking, astronomically speaking.
Because when we flew in, Dave, and we rode the bus over to the car rental or the car parking, the lady was talking about coming back to Denver, and it was funny. She was telling us about her granddaughter being born on the 20th and the solstice, and she had all this astrological stuff about what affected her daughter, and she was born on the cusp and all that stuff, David. It was, and
Wow.
she was an older lady, but it was just like, wow, I didn't think about all that, right?
Did research.
Right? Yeah.
I know the 20th is my mother-in-law's birthday, and my wife was just like, oh, it's the first day of spring. It's my mom's birthday. So
Yeah.
they must coincide frequently, Dave.
I guess. I mean, essentially, spring or fall, it doesn't matter. It's when you have the solstice where the days and the nights are both 12 hours.
Right.
Ah,
And
gotcha.
so, I mean, obviously, as the orbit of the sun and everything kind of changes here and there, it changes here and there.
Man, I just got blind faith. The calendar says it's the first day of spring. I'm like, it's the first day of spring.
And snow tomorrow.
Well, I'll tell
Chain
you,
laws are up right
Yeah,
now.
'cause-
Yeah, exactly.
Because by you saying the 12 hours, so sunrise and sunset is the exact same time, right, Dave? That's when they meet?
I guess, Jim, yeah, because
Because
it's exactly the same hours of daylight and exactly the same hours, 12
Right.
of darkness.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, because when we were in Florida, we tried to get, or we did get up, except it was cloudy, for sunrise across the ocean, and sunrise was like at 6:49, and yet sunset was like at 6:57, and I was like, oh, I wonder when they meet, and obviously it was a couple days.
It was Monday.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
I feel like Jam's looking it up.
I'd
right
go
now.
home.
We're about to get educated.
well, it just came up today. 7:02 a.m. was the sunrise. 7:12 p.m. will be sunset. I put in 3:20, but oh no, that was March 20th. Yeah,
So-
7:02
We
a.m.
10 minutes in 2
So-
days? That doesn't
No, he
seem
said
right.
March 20th.
March 20th, 7:02 a.m. was sunrise.
Right.
In Commerce City,
And
and 7:12 was sunset in Commerce City.
So they didn't match on the.
so
the
that's
solstice.
10 minutes difference,
Yeah.
7:02 versus 7:12.
Yeah.
Maybe that 12 hours of daylight and sunset or whatever you want to call it, because it's not complete darkness. Maybe that's only on the equator. Do you think?
Or it's Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, because I didn't feel like we sprung forward.
Right? Because if you think about it, let's just say Fairbanks, Alaska. Well, that has to have a tipping point.
At some point, they have to meet.
They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I buy the equator thing, Dave. I'd buy that.
I'm gonna just look at the calendar. And be like, yep.
Did you guys know Monday was the first day of spring?
Woohoo. What's so cool about that is I feel like something's happening. You know, yesterday Fry stayed open till 4:30. I know we delivered 3 loads of F-hash, I think, to Central. Like, I think the volume of things are starting to go
Yeah.
up a little bit. And, I mean, we've been waiting for this. It's been a long winter.
Yeah, and it's that tip of spring. I noticed. I know Scooby mowed the lawn out front, but you see a little bit of green grass.
Yeah.
You know, there might be some buds on the trees.
You're
you
right
know,
on the edge of the road.
Right. Right. We're getting close. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know this much. May 7th is the average last frost for Denver.
Is that Mother's Day?
No,
When's-
Mother's Day is usually the end of May.
Oh. That's when you put the flowers out, right? After the.
After Mother's Day.
Yeah.
That's
There
the
you go.
average last frost.
Yeah, but I never wear white after Mother's Day.
That's when you start wearing white. Labor Day.
That's
Yeah.
when
Labor
it
Day.
starts.
Oh,
Unless you're in a
coloring.
skirt and sandals, right?
Man. All right, next item on the discussion. If you're waiting on the street for fuel at the end of the day, please call on the radio and ask about the north and south pumps. For the longest time, we had that second tank here at the main yard. We weren't using the north and south pumps nearly as much as we used to.
Yeah.
Well, we're back in that spot, and we've just been, bottlenecking the street and causing a lot of traffic on the road. So instead of waiting on the street, call out, hey, is the north pump open? Is the south pump open? And we could get you into one of those pumps, and you could be going home probably 30 minutes sooner. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're one of the first guys coming in and the pump's empty, and maybe you fuel in the morning, or usually do, or however it looks, if that area is open, fuel. That would help a lot on the traffic.
Yep.
Because you see a lot of trucks go by it, at night.
Now, I don't think the Freightliners could fuel on south pump. I think they can only fuel on the north pump.
Correct. And the north pump has it's an extra long hose.
Right, yeah, so-
But the south pump is not.
Yeah, if you're a Freightliner, you'd have to go to the north pump.
Yeah,
I
so
did
that
s-
being said, the Kenworths and Pete's can fuel with that extra long hose because it's enough to get
Right.
to the
Right. They
passenger
can
side.
fuel on the north
Either
and
side.
south
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so back to the first day of spring, I did notice a Freightliner unhooked, backed in to the south pump getting fuel this morning.
Rock
How's
star.
that?
Wow. Was that daylight savings or not?
I think so.
All right, next on the list, we need some volunteers. We got the truck rodeo coming up on April 1st. We need some volunteers to be judges for the truck rodeo. We actually need 10 people. So if you're not doing the rodeo and you want to participate and be part of the action and have some JFW family fun, volunteer to be a judge, And I don't just talking to JR and Joanne last night, if you're a guy who wants to do it and maybe your wife wants to come down, they don't really need to be an employee here.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
exactly what I was going to ask. Can a wife judge? Can a girlfriend or whatever, significant others, can somebody else judge besides working here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I don't
cool.
see why not. I mean, everything's going to be laid out pretty black and white. Like, did you run over that cone? Yeah, okay. Here's a mark.
Yeah. Did you
Did
back
not-
up? Here's a mark.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So it should be fairly easy. So
Well, that'd be fun. Hopefully somebody wants to jump in there.
yeah. And then yesterday we had our second annual Silent Warrior Luncheon. So that was a pretty big deal. Does somebody want to take this? One of you guys?
Oh, everybody's pointing at me. Yeah, I just wanted to mention it. We keep it, I guess, I don't know if we keep it quiet or secret, or I guess the word is secret, but organically, on their own, these people have won the name of the Silent Warrior. And they've done it without knowing what the criteria is. And I guess that's what I like about the luncheon and recognizing these people. And we had 19 people that were returning from our very first year. We added 4 more this year, so we have a total of 23 recipients that are part of this group of people that are silent warriors that, I guess what I wanted to mention is I wanted to brag on them for the job they do. And I also wanted to mention that they did get their award yesterday, but I don't want to mention what the criteria is.
Right.
Because those people never were given the chance of what the criteria is. They just come in, do their job, do it well, and have won this award. And I want to thank them for that, but I also would like to mention that there's room for everybody to get that award. It's not a bunch of criteria that is so special that you'll never get it.
Right.
It's criteria that if you just do your job, you too can be a silent warrior.
Yep. And I'd like to jump in and say it's not just for drivers. We had dispatchers and mechanics there as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, congratulations to the 23 people that won yesterday.
Yep.
And hopefully there's some more next year, and we can add to that.
Yeah, what a great way to recognize people. I love the Silent Warrior program and the luncheon and the time spent, and just, it's a good positive thing. So
I like to correlate it to item number 3 on our creed. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve, and that is exactly what those guys are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you touch upon one of the criteria, Dave, is the reason we created this is because they never get touched. We don't really talk to them. They don't have crashes. We don't have to deal with them, I guess, as such, because
Their names aren't brought up.
they're so good.
Yeah.
They fit in. They make our jobs easy. Would that be a good description?
They're very low maintenance, and they're great at their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great at their jobs, Jim. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right. Well, on to our special guest today, Tammie Little. Thank you for being here, Tammie.
Thank you for having me.
And just as a reminder, Tammie is the office manager at Rush Truck Center of Colorado. So, Tammie, we like to get to know you a little bit first, and just talk about your personal life a little bit so we have a feel for who you are. I understand you are married to Rick Frigier. How long have you been married for?
28 years.
Okay, that's a long time. I always ask the men when they tell me they're married what the secret is. So what do you think the secret is to your marriage?
Communication.
Absolutely. Okay, I like that. And Brother Dave was telling me your passions are horses and rodeo.
That is correct.
So were you a barrel racer? Or?
That would be no. My husband team ropes.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So we have an arena at the house. And
Oh, wow.
We have our cows and horses, and we just have fun.
Awesome. So have you been out in Strasbourg for your whole marriage? I mean,
No, sir. We've been there 21 years.
okay. So shortly thereafter.
We lived in Henderson before that.
Okay. And you got 40 acres, and you said you have cow. How many head of cattle do you have?
We have 20 steers right now, roping steers.
Okay.
And then my husband has 2 horses.
Okay. So the steers are strictly for roping.
That is correct.
Wow. So you guys are involved. Yeah. And he
Yes,
still
sir.
ropes to this day?
Excuse me?
He still ropes to this day?
Yes.
That's awesome. Huh.
And I have to ask, because you mentioned it last week, how old's Rick? If
He's just turned 75.
awesome.
Wow.
And still riding and roping, right?
Man, I've never roped before, but I like to say I'm doing that when I'm 75. That sounds pretty cool.
I've ridden a horse and not very well. And for me to do that at 75, I don't think
I would just like to be 75.
Right?
I could care less whether I was riding and roping. Here,
Right.
I mean, if
I'm right with you.
somebody would rope me when I'm 75, I'm still moving.
Is that to get you out of the way or to catch you, Jim?
Huh. Is that inherently dangerous or?
No, he can do circles around me.
Huh.
I mean, it's just, he's retired. He just works on the ranch all day long, does whatever on his tractor. Yesterday, he was working up his arena. And I'm like, why are you wasting diesel? It's going to snow on Thursday. And he's like, I just had to get the dirt worked up. You're wasting diesel. But it just keeps him busy.
Sure.
It's him and his 2 dogs
Gotcha.
all day long.
What kind of dogs?
Border collies.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Gotcha.
Yep.
And how often do you ride?
I don't anymore.
No? Gotcha.
I'd rather just sit on the sideline with a seltzer and watch them.
There you go. That's cool.
Just sit there and have fun.
I love it. Pretty impressive. You started at Peterbilt at Commerce City. Brother Dave mentioned it used to be called Greg Lessing.
Greg was the owner.
Got it.
May he rest in peace. He sold us in 2000.
Two?
I would almost say 2000.
It could have been 2000. He sold us to Rush.
I almost want to say, because we bought a bunch of 99s from Craig.
That is
Rest-
correct. Craig
rest in
Phillips.
peace.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
and it was the first time the trucks came and they had Rush emblems. They took under the Peterbilt emblem and added Rush Truck Centers, and those were 99s. So I would tell you it was 2000 for sure, or 99 that they sold, that Greg sold. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm kind of just going back by memory. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds about right. He was 42 when he sold us and died 9 months later.
Wow.
Of bone cancer.
Wow.
So he did not get to enjoy anything.
And Greg didn't know that at the time?
No.
Wow.
He was skiing one weekend, and it was like in September or October, and broke one of his bones in his leg. And they put him in the hospital, and that's when they found it was throughout his body.
Wow.
Wow.
So, Yeah, it was a bad. I mean, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get to enjoy anything.
Yeah, it sounded like he had life by the horns, retiring early, 42 years old. I mean, I can't imagine. So pretty tragic.
Did his family own Denver Peterbilt, or was it just him? Had he started
His
that?
dad,
His dad. That's
that's
right.
what dad,
That's
yeah.
right.
Arnold Lessing.
Okay, because Denver Peterbilt had been there since
Forever.
Since when? Right.
Yeah.
The 50s,
Right. I don't know
maybe?
when they started because I was with Freightliner for 9 years. And then when I left Freightliner 2 weeks later, I was working at Denver Peterbilt.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure how long Arnold, because I think he was after Marvin Rush founded in 1965.
Okay.
So I'm not sure when Arnold founded Denver Peterbilt.
So you were at Freightliner before. What was your attraction to the trucking industry?
Well, when I got out of high school, during high school's 12th grade, I worked at Scotty's Hamburger Stand. Does everybody remember that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So worked there and then graduated and knew of some people that worked at Freightliner. And they're like, come on. So I started out a cashier.
Sure.
And then they moved me up to the front office with all the women, and I said, oh, no, this ain't going to work. So then they moved me over to the body shop, and I was body shop secretary.
Okay.
And I'd done that for 2 years, and then they moved me to warranty manager.
Oh, wow.
And then we got bought out, and the new owners just felt that I was making too much money for a female.
Oh, wow.
So they let me go. But
Okay.
I was only out of work for 2 weeks, like I
Right.
said. And Greg popped me a
Scooped you right up.
good deal, and I said, yeah. Because all of the salesmen that I worked with at Freightliner had went to Peterbilt.
Ah,
Okay.
So
They already knew
I
who
had
you
it
were.
in right there.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. What's really cool is you've been there for 34 years and 8 months.
That is correct.
That's a long time. I mean, that's
Congratulations.
like you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't hear it very much. And the
No.
only other person that's ahead of me is Mark Jones. And
Okay.
he's 45
Gotcha.
years.
That was one of my questions. If you're the longest term employee they have there, so
Nope. He's got me by a few years.
And what does Mark do?
Yeah. I
He's a
don't-
mechanic.
Okay.
Oh wow.
I think I know Mark.
Yeah, I don't.
He has your trucks all the time, I think.
Okay.
I mean, if they're in the shop.
Sure.
So-
Sure. Okay. I definitely know Tim, but not.
Skiles.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, to joke, Tammie, our trucks are in the shop a lot lately. that's not a shot. We're just saying.
We're just very transparent on this podcast.
I walk to the service department. I'll see a red truck. I'm like, oh my goodness.
It's been a little
At
frustrating.
least it's a different unit.
Right.
Unit number.
Well, we're going through that problem too.
That's funny. How many employees are currently over there at Rush?
I have 124 right now.
Wow.
And I just onboarded 2 yesterday and 1 on Monday.
Gotcha.
So 127.
Wow.
Nice.
Huh, significant. And we kind of touched on this in the beginning of the podcast. What's staffing been like over there? Has it been?
You know, staffing is tough.
Yeah.
And we have an in-house recruiter. And he does an awesome job. But it's just getting them to the finish line. You know, it's just, you got your young ones that, you know, and I blame it on COVID. They just don't want to work.
Right.
You got the ones that do want to work and the ones that don't want to work. And you always can tell which ones are there just there for the paycheck.
You know,
You know-
the problem is during that interview process, they've learned to become good salesmen, meaning they sell themselves.
Absolutely, they do.
And you just don't know what you've got until you get it.
You got that right.
Right. And then you see pretty quick. I mean, you know what you've got well within 30 days.
You know, when we get them to the finish line, you know, drug test, all that, you know, finish line, tell them what their, you know, benefits are going to be, and no call, no show.
Right.
The ghosting.
It's just it's a horrible feeling that people just don't want to work.
Don't feel bad, Tammie. It's nationwide.
Correct.
We go through the same thing. Super Dave does all of our hiring, and his hiring process is very comprehensive, and he puts his heart and soul into it, and guy's supposed to show up to be onboarded, and it's the first day, and it's like crickets,
Happened just Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our CPA was just out, Tammie, yesterday, and you look at that's a little bit different than looking for truck drivers because there's such a high demand of truck drivers.
Sure.
But he's been looking for a CPA to help him or even possibly become a partner or buy his firm and a bookkeeper. He's had 2 headhunters since December looking for people, and he does not have one application.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
One application.
That's crazy.
I would think he'd have applications, but they didn't qualify, right?
No, Dave, no.
Or weren't interested one or the other, but
Yeah.
not to have any applications. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You got a calculator? You hired.
Right? Yeah. And I'm sure he's got, the qualification, like I said, whatever, a bookkeeper and the difference between a CPA. But in all he's actually looking at this point of, maybe taking less customers. That way he can just continue to do it himself.
Right.
Or hopefully after the tax season here, he gets some applications because people don't want to move this time of
Right.
year.
Right.
Because
So,
they're super busy.
yeah, but you just, I don't know, we talked to so many different people, and it is a nationwide problem, like you said, Jim.
Yeah. Tammie, is that throughout all your departments, or is certain departments harder to find people than others?
Certain departments are harder to find.
Which ones?
Parts department. We've had some staffing issues there. We've got a new manager, Des Hunter, and Malexi is the assistant. And I think we're on the road to success.
Nice.
Good.
In fact, I don't think I know.
Good.
We've got some really good people in the parts department right now.
Excellent.
And phone issues and order issues and parts on back order.
Oh, yeah.
They just got their hands full.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, Tammie. I mean, you remember, obviously, you were there, but when we saw you a couple weeks ago, and Scott Pearson was there, and he's moving down to Florida, and
He
we
is.
thought, oh, you guys are going to lose him. The minute he said he was moving, I'm like, oh, man, that's one of our go-to guys, right? When you, as a business like we are, we have our go-to people. When someone answers the phone, you automatically know what kind of service you're going to get. And you're
Absolutely.
like, oh, is Scott there? Can I talk to Scott?
Right.
Right. And you ask, you've got your favorites, right? I mean, it's with anything you do.
Exactly.
And I was so impressed to find out, he's moving to Florida and still going to answer the phone, but from Florida.
Yeah, that's
And be tied into the system and
And
still
we
do everything he was
Right.
doing before. So that's
and we
really
were
neat.
so lucky to be able to do that because we were going to lose Scott.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, 30 days prior to that, he was looking elsewhere.
Sure.
And did interview with a couple of Rush stores in Florida,
Oh,
but they didn't
wow.
have any openings.
Got it.
Is he
Right?
a parts guy, you guys?
He
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
he's going to move to Florida, and he's going to be able to do the phone
Remote.
room from home,
Yeah.
and he's still our employee.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he
huge.
knows so many people.
Oh,
He does.
Oh, I'm telling you, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at one point he had quit and came back, but
He did.
He's got to have a total
done
of
it
20,
twice.
20 years in there. I bet if you accumulate the years,
Absolutely.
right? So knowledgeable. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID boosted the remote industry big time. My wife works from home, and with our daughter, she's got to look for a job. She would be looking for a remote position. It's just so convenient,
Oh, it's absolutely convenience.
Yeah, so it's a big business right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they supply all the equipment. You just take it home, and there you go.
Absolutely.
Off you go. So what does a role include as an office manager at Rush? What does your day-to-day look like?
Just on the go all the time.
Yeah.
I close the books for all 4 stores, which is Greeley, Denver, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo.
Wow.
I'm more on the truck sale side. I do all the bookings of the heavy duty trucks, new and used, for all 4 stores. Everything consists of all 4 stores. And they call me Mama Tammie. I mean, my door is always open unless it's the end of the month. And they know they'll sit there out on my window to my office And if my door is shut, they'll be like, but
That's what Jim and Dave call you too. Did you know
that is correct. Yes.
Yeah, when Dave's mentioned
sister.
go-to people, who do we call, Dave?
Yeah,
Let's
right.
call Tammie.
Yeah.
Let's email Tammie. We know the go-to people. Yeah.
I get a lot of that, but being in it for 40 some years, it's just my heart is the employees. My biggest heart is the customers.
Sure.
Customer is the boss.
Right.
And a lot of young people don't know that. That, it's just another person. And it's really not. If you don't have the customer, you don't have a business.
Right.
So it's just, I do everything from ordering Sam's Club, because we get ice cream on Fridays if we don't have a safety issue. So I do ice cream, and then I do the dry stuff for the coffee bar at the parts department for the customers.
Right.
Luncheons, I order all the stuff for the luncheons. I do all that. So I told Justin the other day, I said, why don't you just make me your caterer? And he's like, wonder if we could do a position like that. I said, not. So I just do everything.
With people calling you Mama Tammie, do you deal with a lot of people problems?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And they confide in me because they can trust me.
Sure.
So, and there's some stuff I'll share. Some stuff I don't.
Right.
I take care of it myself.
Sure.
So,
That's something so important in your position, and that was one of
Right.
the things, that I mentioned about that life coach we had come in so long ago. But
Sure.
you learn you have internal customers and external customers.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that's what's crucial to success is knowing those internal customers as well as the external, and that's just it's huge to your survival and growth and care for all the people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
What are, in the past 34 years, what are some of the things that you had to face and overcome throughout the years of growth with Rush?
The growth part, we were lucky to get out of have the new building that we're in now. The overcome of that is at the building on Vasquez, we were all one in the same building. You could see the customers walk in, go out and greet them, say how you doing. This here is a campus facility. We're all in separate buildings. I miss the customer view because I'm over in the admin building, which is just truck sales. I miss the incoming parts customers, service customers, being face to face with them. When we first moved over to the new building, Arnie Weber, bring back memories.
Right?
Yeah.
He said, now, Tammie, if you want me to come and see you when I get parts, you're going to have to buy me a Hoover board to come and see you. Because we're all in separate
Yeah,
buildings.
right.
But that was the biggest thing to overcome. And I just walked the building, a couple of times a day and see what customers are at the front counter.
Sure.
And so it's, that was a challenge.
What's the biggest challenge you recall? Or the biggest change? That's it?
That's
the
about it,
building,
yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So if you could wave your magic wand and make an immediate change, what would that be?
Well, it wouldn't have anything to do with Rush. I would change the world the way we're having to live.
Yeah? Okay. Like what would that look like?
I don't know.
Don't hold back here.
Yeah.
The White House. We need to change the White House.
Gotcha.
And there it is. We went political.
Okay.
We've never
Didn't
done
mean
that
to.
before. Oh no. Oh no.
There's been
My
itching.
passion.
Yeah, there's been itching to get
Yep.
there. So
It should be everybody's passion to though, Dave. You know what we've talked about, and I think some people are just okay of being taken care of. That's they don't have to be. They don't have to be passionate about what's going on in the world. So, yeah.
You know, and it's not only Colorado, it's the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I know you grew up here, but you are a native, right?
I was born in Rancho, New Mexico,
And when did you move here?
when I was 3.
Okay.
So,
that
a native.
grants
Yeah,
you a native. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, you've seen all the change we have, and this is just not the Colorado we grew up in.
No.
I mean, it is not remotely close, and I don't foresee in the future it going back. I think
To the
we've-
way it was.
Yeah, we've drawn that other side of people here, and they're a bigger population than we are. In my eyes, and when I say
Absolutely.
we, I'm talking about the circles we run in,
Sure.
right? You and I are one circle, and it seems like that other circle is overpopulating us. They like that dense growth, and they're in those areas where they have a greater vote than we do.
That is correct.
So yeah, I think we'll be blue for a long time to come.
And there it is.
Right?
Pick a side.
Yeah.
He meant blue as in sad.
Oh, gotcha.
Not,
Isn't that what it stands for?
not
And red as in mad.
That's right.
I mean, we're just JFW red.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've got to stand for something, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges do you face with the customers, and what can a customer do to help you?
The customer can't do anything to help us other than patience, communication.
Right.
We've got our problems, like I mentioned before, phones, customer problems. We have a automated answer, except for if you dial the direct line, you'll get Alexis, which is my receptionist,
Okay.
and does a fabulous job. But she doesn't get all the calls.
How long have you two worked together?
I just hired her 5 months ago.
Okay.
is she older or younger, Tammie? I don't
Well,
know.
she
if that
actually interviewed with you all
Oh, wow.
as a dispatcher.
Alexis?
okay.
How,
But it was nights, and she has a child, and expecting in September. So she interviewed with us, and we hired her on the spot.
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
cool.
And actually, she showed back up for the first day.
She came to work.
That's right. That was a plus.
Yeah, finish
That
the
was
process.
a plus. But I don't, the customers don't have anything to do with, we try our hardest to make the customer happy. We have very few that are unhappy. But when they are unhappy, they hit that 0 on the press 1 for parts.
That's
Then
what
it
I
comes
do.
to me.
Yeah.
So it gets handled.
Good. Do you have a rush culture coin or a challenge coin?
I sure do.
Oh, is that it right there?
Yep.
Wow.
Customer is the boss.
Got it. Is that all it says on there?
David, your turn.
No,
can read
actually
it.
on the back, it says, "Our future is dependent upon loyal, dedicated, results-oriented people whose hard work, integrity, and pride ensures the success of our organization and each and every employee." Founded in 1965.
Wow.
Very
Can
cool.
I
That's
see that
awesome.
real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. The customer is the boss. Very nice. Have you guys seen that?
It should be the same as Zach, the salesman's.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you actually took a picture of that when we were looking to do ours.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Coins, yeah.
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 Very cool.
It's a good.
How long ago did you receive that, Tammie?
I received that when I was hired on,
Oh, wow. Okay.
when they took us over.
So 30, well, so
20
23 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's my original one.
Gotcha. You carry it with you every day?
I do. I have it in my purse.
That's awesome.
The women are able to carry it in their purse. So if Rush was to make a special appearance, just the big boys, usually they'll walk through the shop and they'll ask you for your coin. If you have your coin, they'll give you $10.
Okay.
Last time Rusty was in, came into my office, he said, "Do you have your coin?" And I said, "Well, of course I do." So I got into my purse and I handed it to him. He gave me $20. He gave me 2 tens instead of 1 10. So, yeah, it's
So you said the women are allowed to carry it in a purse, but the men have to have it in their pocket?
pocket or the wallet.
Got it. What if they have a purse?
We won't go there.
Immerse.
That's it.
That's kind of like your frunk on your cars now.
Yeah.
You know,
What did
like
they?
your cars.
What did they call it on Seinfeld? The European carry-all or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Been doing it in Europe for years. Right?
I got a MERS, but it's a trauma kit, so to me that's manly enough.
It's a travel kit.
Trauma
A
kit.
what?
A trauma kit.
Oh, trauma.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
First aid kit. Yeah.
Okay.
This has got more than.
Trauma.
It's got a little bit more than Band-Aids in it. You could plug some holes with it.
Oh, funny.
That's funny. What is one of your more memorable stories at Rush?
In 2006, I was nominated for Administrative Manager of the Year, and I got it.
Very cool.
At that time, we probably had maybe 55 to 60 stores.
Wow.
So that was a life experience. I mean,
Wow.
they flew us to San Antonio.
You and your husband?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
And wined and dined, and I mean, just beautiful hotel. We stayed there for the weekend. And then in 2021, I was nominated again
Oh, wow.
and received Office Manager of the Year.
Wow.
At that time, probably we have 100 and some odd stores. So going against probably 60
Wow.
administrative assistants, office managers.
Wow.
It was
It's quite the honor.
quite the honor.
Yeah, congratulations.
that's
Tim.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, I didn't travel at that time because of COVID.
COVID, yeah.
Everybody else did, but Justin was fine with me, and my mom and dad wasn't in the greatest health, so
Got it.
I stayed back. But still, they
Gave you a fat check.
no, they didn't do that. But when a couple of weeks after the deal in San Antonio, they had a big luncheon and everything, and presented me with all my gifts and
Nice.
at the dealership.
That's awesome.
Cool. That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
So how many
nice.
how many stores do you have? Does Rush have now?
I don't know how many there is in Canada because we just took all those over in Canada. I would say probably 10 in Canada. So I think we're sitting like 160.
Gotcha.
Wow.
So with you winning all those honors, it sounds like all these stores are kind of like connected. Everybody.
That is correct.
So your name is probably known around the nation.
Yes, I get a lot of phone calls from other, girls that have started, ladies that have started just recently, and they need help with this and they need help with that. I'll get calls daily.
Huh. from other stores.
And then myself and Debbie in Oklahoma City, we go back and forth with the new changes that we're going through. And
Gotcha.
so, yeah, my little brother works at Oklahoma City Rush.
Oh, wow.
He's at the front parts counter.
Sounds like you're a big part of the backbone of the whole
I am.
operation. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I didn't know you had two brothers.
I have 4 brothers.
Ah,
Well, we need
There's
to catch
6 of
up.
us.
right. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
6 of us.
Okay.
2 girls and 4 boys.
Okay. Very cool. And what age do you fall in? Not what age are you, but where do you fall in? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth?
I have 2 older brothers,
Okay.
and then myself,
Okay.
and then 2 younger brothers, and then a little sister.
Okay. Very cool. And JJ's younger.
JJ's the one right after me.
Okay.
And then Bobby's the one in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And then my little sister's in Illinois. My other 2 oldest brothers are here.
Gotcha. Do the other 3, are they involved at all in any type of like trucking or, you know what I mean?
So my oldest brother, he was a principal,
okay.
school teacher.
Wow.
Here in Colorado?
Uh-huh.
Where at?
At Commerce City
Okay.
and then Westminster.
Okay. Very cool.
So he
like
done
as in
that.
Westy High School?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Just Westminster.
Westminster.
Okay.
Adams 12.
Okay.
Whatever. he done that, went to college. Stacy, my second to the oldest brother, he was in the Air Force and then got into retail, still does retail. And then myself, never did go to college, just done it.
Didn't need to.
You worked.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They say that's becoming a thing.
Absolutely,
Just
it is.
because of how desperate our workforce is, that so many businesses are saying, you don't need a college degree. Come to work and we'll gladly teach you.
Right.
You just have to come to work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool to me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Go
So-
ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's
so
okay.
Keep going.
And then JJ, he's in finance for the heavy duty.
Yep.
He's done some finance for
For us.
JFW.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been around a while also. Timpty. He started with Timpty.
He was at Freightliner prior, though.
He
right?
was.
Or
He was at
Transwest?
Freightliner with me. He wasn't yes, he was Transwest.
Yeah, yeah.
He stayed. So, and then my brother Bobby, he's front parts counter at Oklahoma City, and then my little sister's in Illinois, and she's just a stay at home.
Cool.
It's a big job there too.
It is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's not just to stay at home.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly.
With you being third and having two oldest brothers, that was probably fun growing up. You were probably well protected.
Or
Sure.
Or beat up.
or picked on. One of the-
I think it was more picked on. They always called me the black sheep of the family,
Oh, wow.
but that's okay, right?
Are you guys all pretty tight now?
We have our differences and our,
Gotcha. Yeah.
it's being 6 kids, it's tough.
Sure.
Plus you're adding all the significant others.
Right.
And it
A lot of
gets,
dynamic there.
It gets a little dynamic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you
I
could
get
call it.
I have a sister. She lives in Evergreen. I probably see her once every 2 years. So, I mean, I get
That's sometimes not a bad deal.
it. Well,
So, Tammie, I want to get back to the trucks, the stores and stuff. I only because I personally know, or like I know Jim knows, but all 160 of those stores are not all Peterbilt stores.
That is correct. We have International, and then the Ford.
Okay.
There is 2 Ford stores in Florida, and then there's us. There's not as many Ford stores that there is International
Okay.
in Azuzu.
Okay. Is there an equipment store, like heavy equipment, like loader, grader, a tractor, farm supply? None of those? I don't know why I thought at some point I had seen one of those.
Or is International Tractors? Or is it truck? International trucks?
Trucks.
It is trucks. Okay.
And then I don't know whether this is true. Maybe you can answer it. I had heard at one time that Peterbilt, the truck manufacturer, would not allow Rush to own any more Peterbilt dealerships because at a certain point, if they wanted and didn't pay their bill, they could bankrupt Peterbilt, the truck manufacturer. Is that just trucker gossip, rumor, BS? That us bored truckers have nothing more to talk about than create stories like that.
I've heard something of that.
Yeah.
But we continue to buy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, clearly, if you just bought 10 more stores in Canada,
Right.
so
That is correct.
yeah. And is there a manufacturer? Is there a plant in Canada, or are they built all in Denton? Wow, that's cool. That's cool. And Denton is the only factory still, right? The Union plant isn't open any longer. That was in
I think it's just Denton.
okay, because they closed the Union one. I don't remember what state. When I point, I'm pointing like southeast. I thought it was in. I don't know. Where do you remember? Was it in Tennessee
I don't,
or
Dave, yeah.
where was it at? Because I know it was a Union plant, and there were some issues because of that. And this was going way back when, like 20 years ago.
Right. We just deal with Denton.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. So, how of all the Peterbilts made, how many trucks do Rush buy from Peterbilt versus every other dealership? I mean, are they 60%, 80%, 50% of Peterbilt's
I would
sales?
say 80%.
Yeah,
60 to 80%.
wow,
that's
big.
that's
That's big.
that's huge, isn't it? Right? Yeah. Very cool.
And we're still on allocation. So,
Right.
Whatever we get allotted,
Yeah, the COVID, man, did it just
it's killed a lot of stuff.
play havoc on our supply chain.
Sure did.
Yeah. It does feel like it's getting better,
Oh, sure.
just slowly but surely, So,
I got to ask a question. Tammie, the 389 model is discontinued, right?
That is correct.
Are you hearing a lot of flack over that? From the customers, like, what the heck are you doing? That's, my baby, and the hood is, all powerful.
I got to jump in there before she answers, but that's political, right?
I did. Jim has told me that before.
It's
Yeah, it's
environmentally driven.
Right. And as far as fuel mileage. And, so anyway.
I just have to throw that out there because as customers, we want those trucks.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
But our government tells us we can't.
And drivers.
That is correct.
The drivers, all the years we had nothing but 379s. And if we could poll our drivers today, I bet you, I don't know, 3/4 at least would want a 389 hood.
Most definitely.
Most popular truck out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Doesn't even compare to Kenworth. I mean, everybody wants the 389.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's going away.
It is truly the end of an era. They took that model truck and every so often, like any other, like the F-150 Ford pickup, you revamp it every 2 or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. You get that new model. You get that, how they changed the dash, how they did the mirrors, the headlights.
The step side.
Yeah. It was the newest version or newest model of that truck, and to realize that this is their sunset year is what they're calling it. And I guess I just want to be sure everyone understands when I say that's a political or an environmental decision, because they claim that truck isn't aerodynamic enough to get the best fuel mileage that it can, is what we've been told. And you have to sell X amount of aerodynamic trucks for every one of those trucks, I believe, that are sold, right, Tammie? And I'm just making numbers up here, but for every one 389 you sell, you have to sell, and again, I'm making these numbers up, like
That's
10
correct.
aerodynamic models to compensate for that. And now it's probably to the point the government is probably fining the manufacturers if they don't. Am I making all of that up, or am I?
No, you're probably.
I might not be spot
you're
on,
spot
but it's,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many trucks does Rush sell a year, average?
Last year we sold just our store.
No.
Oh, geez.
Well, both your store and
Yeah, if you know
nationwide.
your store, I would want to know your store.
Yeah.
And when I say your store, you and Green, kind of Colorado, the Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
We were probably at new 280, 300.
Wow.
And that's after COVID.
That's after COVID.
Right.
Do you have a year in your head that was just like a record-breaking year that you guys sold more trucks than
Probably
you ever
a
thought possible?
year before COVID.
So
that would be 18, 19.
Yeah.
We were probably high 300s.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy.
I don't know who wrote this next question, but what are your thoughts on the political?
Beanie.
BD, why don't you just get it?
Other day.
Before we get to that, since that's one of the last questions, might be a long conversation. Are you looking forward to retirement or anything? Tammie, have you thought about it?
Do you have a sunset year in mind? What year is your sunset model? Like
Politically.
As long as
389.
health, as long as your health stays good, I probably have another 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
as
'cause
long
you
as
want
they'll
to?
keep me.
Just because you want to?
Just because I want to.
Yeah.
I'm just not a stay-home person. Where, on the other hand, my husband is. And I just don't know how long we'd be married if I was to stay home with him 7/24.
Yeah, but the communication, you said, is the key.
You got to have communication. So, I want to work until I can't, I guess.
Yeah.
But I want to enjoy some of it too.
Sure.
So,
Don't you find that's working as part of your identity, though?
oh, absolutely.
I mean, to a degree, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, because you get in your car, you drive to work, you're a different person. You know, not a different person, just a different atmosphere
Right.
than, you know, having to stay at home. I just don't know how I would handle it.
Right. Did you have to stay home at all during COVID? I mean, I know your
no.
business, like ours, was essential. So
We were frontline. I can honestly say myself and Leslie, which is on my team, were the only ones that did not contract COVID.
Oh, wow.
I can't say that I've ever had it.
nice.
Cold. I mean, we were there every day, you know, 8 hours, 9 hours a day, trying to take care of it. And, you know, and I had the pharmacy in my office, so all these, you know. And so I went to, that's when we started giving them the test kits.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I had them in my office. They'd come in my office, coughing and sneezing and doing
Can I have a
whatever.
test kit?
Can I have a test kit? So I went to Justin. I said, okay, stop. I don't want them in my office. Where do you want them? And he's like, what's going on? I said, they're coming into my office, hacking in the coffin. I don't want them. We can put them somewhere. I don't want them in my office anymore.
Yeah.
He said, go get them. So we put him in his office on the round table. So if they needed a test kit, they just come and get it off the round table, which was fine with me. But that was a tough year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Just keeping people healthy.
Yeah.
And then you have your ones that, you know, because you could.
Yep.
And we
Right.
were paying them.
Right.
Right.
Right. So
And then now,
Now
a lot
you
of-
went back to the political.
I
right?
did.
You did.
I did.
and
We
now-
can't help but not get to the political
That's
question.
right.
And you can't ask them if they actually like can prove they have COVID. That's illegal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And that was a good
but
thing.
they want to test to know they have it.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That was a good thing when they came out with the test kits.
Right.
Because then we would ask for a picture of the
right.
negative or positive, whatever, for them to return to work.
Sure.
So, you know, I can honestly say, knock on wood, I did never call in the 2 years, never did get sick, and kept my mom and dad safe.
Nice. When's the last time you actually did call off from work? I have a feeling you don't even know.
I called in sick a week ago.
Oh,
Rick and I contracted a cold,
Gotcha.
right? We had a 75th birthday party for him, and he's blaming it on that, so he won't go to Lulu's no more, right? Because he contracted it at Lulu's. Yeah, I called in just because I had a headache, and I just did not feel right.
sure.
But I was back into work the next day.
Right.
So I lose vacation time all the time because I don't use it. Sick time, I have all my sick time.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. All right, then the last question on there, Tammie. I'll get the one that gets to ask it. What are your thoughts of the political climate and the changes being forced on the trucking industry? Meaning kind of emissions, construction in general, just all of that.
It's going to be a big change. It's going to be a heartbreaking for most companies. You know, it could always flip too. You never know. I mean, but I don't think it's going to. I think we're going to go into some heavy laws.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It feels as though it's going to get worse before it gets better.
That is correct.
So,
And that's starting from the top.
right. Oh, 100%.
It's only got to get better. I mean, but it is going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
What do we have, 2024?
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, I mean, we Jam made the comment when we came up here and sat down. I have a news article cut out, and we work for CEMEX, a cement manufacturer up in Lyons, Colorado. They're just under a litany of abuse from their neighborhood. They're so close to Boulder. They're in Boulder County up there in Lyons. They've been there since 1969. And so many people are trying to close that business because they have it in their head, oh, they're one of the worst polluters. They're the highest carbon emitter, or whatever the case may be. And what people don't understand, no matter what, you can't just close that business. You can't just shutter their doors, because someone has to make cement. Someone has to manufacture that product. They happen to be sitting on one of the best geographical locations to do that, because they've been pulling raw minerals out of the ground where they're located since 1969. That's why they're built there, right? It hasn't been until this year that they can't pull out of the ground anymore. So we're one of the trucking companies hauling it in for them to produce. But what does a business like that do? They can't just close that plant and go, oh, we're going to move to Fort Morgan, right? They can't just do that.
You can't just up and move.
Yeah, you just don't shutter a cement plant that's producing, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of tons of cement a year, because the cost to build that new facility, it's probably cost prohibitive. I mean, it's probably not even feasible to build a new facility. And then you take anything to do with that, and you have to now truck, instead of from Lyons, all the way to, and I'm making it up, to Fort Morgan, right? I mean, it could be further out than that, so it's in the middle of nowhere, so they don't catch the flack that they're catching now. And you put that much cost on the trucking industry, well, that's going to put more trucks on the road because it's further. That's going to be, and I'm using air quotes right now, worse for the environment, right? Because the impact of more trucks on the road. And at what point do you think this information needs to be given to the news? How do we start to combat these problems and educate people? Because I truly believe it's not a red and a blue, it's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican, it's become political and it's become a vote thing. But at some point it needs to come back to education. We need to educate people that we have to have.
Because they don't know.
Yeah, we have to have cement for a road. We have to have lumber to build our houses. We have to have asphalt for our streets. The asphalt is created. It's the last product, the oil that comes out of Suncor. That's the byproduct of all of our fuel and gas created. I laughed the other day. I was sitting at an intersection. I actually took a picture of it on my phone. I sent it to Jim while he was on vacation last week. And it was a bumper sticker in the guy's rear window of his pickup. And it says, "I'm pro pipeline. My pickup doesn't run on fairy dust and unicorn piss." And I was like, I would love to put that sticker on every vehicle we own.
Absolutely.
And that's the worst thing we could do. We already, as an industry, have such a target on our back. And that's the biggest thing we try and combat and fight and try and educate people is our industry isn't bad. We've gone to the wide base tires on all of our trailers. We get the best fuel mileage we can. We're the most aerodynamic there is. We have the newest vehicles available. We're creating the least carbon emission that's possible. We've done all of these steps that again, air quotes, our regulators have said we need to do, and people still condemn our industry. Mm-hmm. And it's an industry that supports 3 members of your family, our whole family, all of the families that work here at JFW, and that's the top of the pin for the industry as a nation, right? I mean, we're tiny compared to the industry as a nation, but our whole industry is under attack right now.
That's right.
So how do we start that education?
That's what I was just going to ask you. How do you start? How do you start to educate?
Yeah, I know years ago they don't do this. I can't think of the word. It was kind of a rollout from the CMCA, the Colorado Motor Carriers, and about a decade ago, every member of the CMCA it was a giant sign on the side of everyone's trailers that said trucks, they bring good stuff, or good stuff trucks bring it, or there was something like that, and that was their play on it, and people need to understand that every single product they have was brought by a truck.
Absolutely.
every single thing they have.
And there's so many people that don't realize that.
And that means we need fuel. That means we need oil. That means we
Food.
need tires. That means everything, right? I mean, everything. Yeah, it's all encompassing, and it seems like a massive undertaking to try and start that education process. But at some point, we have to educate the people, so then maybe they can educate the political side, or help ask the questions to the politicians of, hey, why are you condemning this, or what's going on? So I don't know. Something we all need to work on.
Absolutely.
Our industry as a whole needs to
it.
start working on it sooner than later. So, you look at what they've done in California. I mean, independent truckers aren't even allowed out there anymore. They can't even work out there anymore. They pushed that bill through and put it into place January 1st this year. So if you're an independent driver, you can't work out there. And I don't know, do you remember, Jim, how many trucks you have to own not to be considered an independent?
I don't think it's the amount of trucks, Dave. I think it's what kind of work you're doing. If you're working directly for that manufacturer or that company, it's okay. You can be independent, but you can't be an independent trucker and be working for like Walmart as such. That's what they've taken away from.
Gotcha.
Is you can't, because you're not truly independent. You're a Walmart employee, and that's what California was trying to protect, is that guy. So he had health insurance, he had workman's comp, he had all that kind of stuff when you're not actually an employee.
Yeah, what's funny, he had the American dream because he owned his own business.
Exactly. And
they
he
took
was
that
running,
away.
he was in control of his future and his life.
Right.
Yeah, or her life,
Yeah.
whichever might it be. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised Colorado's not trying to push something through like that.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's next? Yeah.
I keep telling the joke, Tammie, do you know what they're saying in California right now? God, I hope it doesn't get as bad as Colorado out here.
That is a joke.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What was the one we talked to the friends that were looking at moving to Montana, and they went to Montana, was, with the real estate agent and doing stuff like that. And they found out that most of Montana doesn't want us, want Coloradoans anymore.
Any plates with a C on it.
Yes, exactly.
Is
that
how they
was
started. And
that was
they're like,
Montana's thing.
"What?
We don't.
C?"
Yeah,
California,
California. Any don't. If you come
Yeah.
from a state with a C, we don't want
Connecticut.
Yeah.
you. Yeah, because you're just ruining it for us.
Their way of life is just fine without us up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of how we were 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't want another C.
We weren't smart enough to take a
Exactly.
stance on it, right?
That's correct.
We all complained about it, but we weren't smart enough to take a stance on it, which I don't know how you do that, You always,
Yeah, move here because you don't like where you are, and then make it like the place you came from.
right,
Yeah,
right,
that's crazy.
yeah,
So,
yep. Crazy stuff.
well, Tammie, we're going to move on a little bit. Are you able to hang out with us for the
Absolutely.
rest of the podcast? And please chime in, and we want to hear your opinions and
Okay.
thoughts on all these things. Safety topic of the week. We're pleased to announce yesterday at the Silent Warrior meeting, we actually launched our Safety Has No Blind Spot campaign. Anybody want to speak on what that is?
We need help.
Yeah, I think since you wrote it, Jam, you should.
Oh,
Did you
I don't
bring
have
the?
I didn't bring the contract, but I could probably go get one real
Yeah.
quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys start talking about it? I'll be right back with the contract.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys have heard us. Everyone has heard us talk about it for the last 2 weeks, saying we're going to roll this out, and the name of it is "Safety Has No Blind Spots." And what you've heard us talk about for the last 2 weeks is over the last probably 3 years, we've probably had, I don't know, possibly 6, 8, over 3 years, maybe even 10 accidents in our blind spot. That almighty right side, right front bumper, and we preach about it. And, like Jim said, we've added the blind spotter, which is the right-hand lane change mitigation. It's we've went to the slope hood trucks. We've added hood mirrors. We've added mirrors above the doors. We've, added windows in the doors, everything in our ability to eliminate that blind spot area, and so we don't have accidents there. And we had our first one of the year 2 weeks ago. And, as a matter of fact, when we talked about it on the podcast, it was a new driver, Tammie, just to keep you in the loop here, that had the accident. He'd only been with us, I don't know, 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
And a 6-year driver. And
Actually, Dave, it was a week and a day.
a week and a day.
Yeah.
'Cause I was going to
Week
say
and a day.
6 days, but
Okay.
a week and a day, and then
we talked about the accident on the podcast and never mentioned any names. We try and educate on here, right? We're not after finger pointing like, oh, Bob's an idiot. Why did he have an accident? It's never like that. It's like, hey, we had an accident. We need to discuss how did we have it? How do we help the other 100 drivers keep from having that accident? So anyway, we discussed it. He had the accident on Tuesday. So knowing this program was coming, I was pretty passionate about it. I was like, hey, we need to be aware of this, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, when the driver listened to the podcast, he quit Wednesday night after the podcast because he said we didn't have his back. And that was never the case, and that will never be the case. But you have to be able to work here and allow us to help teach you or coach you up in some things that you might not be doing to the best of your ability or to our JFW requirement, right? I mean, the most key thing in what we do is a lane change. It sounds pretty simple or almost idiotic when you hear that, like, oh my God, we have somebody that can't change lanes. Well, we've had enough accidents over the years. It's our number one leading accident that we have, right? If we have any accident, it's that. So when Jim and I have to sit here annually when our insurance company shows up to renew our insurance rates, and as hard as we work in this business, in this industry, because we don't want to make just JFW better. We want to make trucking as a whole better.
Oh, absolutely.
If we have people that are listening that work at other companies, we're thrilled, right? We just want to make them a better driver. We don't care where you work. And so we sit here at these annual, meetings when they come to renew our insurance, and the insurance adjuster just grills us, and you walk out of the meeting feeling this big, Tammie. Like Jim and I are thinking, what else can we do? We feel like idiots. We're doing everything in our power, but we're still having these accidents. So Jam's here, and he has what our what do you call it, Jam? Contract.
I call it a contract.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's not legal binding, right? But it's more.
It is a JFW. In my eyes, it's a legal binding contract at JFW.
There you go.
That's my 2 cents.
What this contract's meant to do is to make you come into agreement with our safety program. We want you to believe in the program and the items on it, and by signing your name next to it, that's coming into agreement with what I'm about to read. And then we actually give you this cool silicone bracelet. It's a Safety Has No Blind Spot bracelet. You could pass that to Tammie so she could see it. I actually gave the one I actually signed the contract already, and then we had another driver sign off in a safety meeting yesterday with him, and I gave him my bracelet.
Oh, cool.
So he's on
I never
board.
got a bracelet yesterday, so I need to sign the contract.
Yeah,
and
you
get
need
my
to sign
bracelet.
the contract and be in agreement. Yeah.
All right.
That is pretty cool. Where'd you get that made up at?
We could get with Ann. She ordered them online. She designed it. Ann is kind of a jack of all trades here, but when it comes to anything graphic design or stuff like that, she breaks off from what she's doing, and it helps
That is
us
a great idea.
create things like that. So here's what the contract has to say. Let me turn my gain down a little bit. It says, number one, I will change lanes like my family is in the car next to me. And I think that's important. If you feel like you're putting your own family in danger, maybe you would think twice about changing lanes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you,
Please
Jam,
do.
from reading that, but no matter how you look at this over the years, and Dave, I mean, we've had a lot of these accidents, Jam. I wish I had over the last 20 years or
Right?
30
years, yeah.
Dave, and I don't even know, we can joke, we can knock on wood or anything, but I don't think we have seriously hurt somebody from that. But that will happen at some point. We will hurt somebody
Right.
badly.
Yeah.
And Jam, when you read that first sentence, your
gut-wrenching.
family could be in the car next to you,
Yeah.
or your best friend's family, and
Or somebody that works here.
family. I mean, it just what it can lead to, and again, and I don't want to get off point from you reading that, Jam, because I consider it an oath along with a contract. But we have to stop this.
Yes.
We have to stop it. So please continue,
Yeah,
Jim.
and please, I don't feel interrupted. Like,
Well, I don't want to break up. Here's the contract, you guys.
yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
okay. Number two, my turn signal will flash at least 4 times before changing lanes, and I will leave it on until I have completed my lane change. Number 3, I will look several times and make sure nothing is in my blind spot on my right front corner and side of the truck. Number 4, I will check all my mirrors, including my side mirror, spot mirror, hood mirror, curb mirror, before starting my lane change, and then I will check them again. Number 5, I will, if I am unsure if there's a vehicle next to me, I will slow down or speed up to confirm it is safe before making my lane change. Number 6, I will change lanes slowly just in case there's a car next to me to minimize the severity of a potential accident. Then it goes on to say, I am completely committed, devoted, invested, and engaged to changing lanes safely. I am willing to do anything to achieve a safer JFW. Safety has no blind spot, and neither do I. So these 6 items, we came up with these because these are the things that we've seen. If we did these 6 things, either if we did hit somebody, it would have been less severe. You know, if you looked again, you wouldn't have even changed lanes to begin with. If you had your signal on at least 4 times, people would know, hey, that big truck's changing lanes. If you considered your family's next to you, you'd be more careful, and so on and so forth. So, and then there's a signature line and a date, and we want everybody to jump on board with this program. And I believe, and we believe, that if you're committed to this, we'll be safer, and we'll eliminate these accidents if you do these 6 items.
We sure hope so, Jam.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the steering committee worked hard on putting all this together. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it was one of those plans. We've been talking about this for months.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. In true JFW fashion, when we decide we're going to put something together, it's very well thought out. It's combed over. You know, we go over it and we go over it and we go over it, and then we launch it. So a lot of thought's been put into this. So
Yeah.
everybody jump on board.
Yeah, and the you know, I was just listening to you read it because I heard you read it yesterday, and of course we all went over it. But like the 4 blinks, you know, that can you change lanes after your 4 blinks? Can you change lanes before your 4 blinks? The purpose is at least 4 blinks, so you have that time to look around.
Yes.
You know, after the meeting yesterday, we had one of the guys come up to me and said, you know, You mentioned looking in the hood mirror. You mentioned looking in the doggy window if your truck has a doggy window. The mirror above the window. You can glance out the back window also. There's that spot there right out your back. You have your turn signal on. You have your mirror. You have your spot mirror, and you have all this. But one of the guys yesterday mentioned to me. He said for him it's a 360 degree view. He said I check beside me the other way as I'm making that lane because if that lane change, because if something happens on that side, can I go back in my lane?
That's a great point.
You know, so it's not just that, okay, at the tip of the hood. Obviously, the tip of the hood is where the accident happens, or, you know, at the fuel tank or the blind spot.
Right.
But, you know, and when I listened to him, I felt myself making that change so many times, like, oh, shit, there's a car there. You know, and I have to not go back in my whole lane, but I have to stop whatever I was doing and come back to that spot.
Right.
You know, and same thing, you know, looking out in front of you as you make that change, because, you know, somebody coming on from like an on-ramp and shoots all the way across in front of you.
Oh, you see that constantly.
Right.
They cross the gore line and all 3 lanes right to the fast lane. It just
Yeah.
infuriates me, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
why did you
They're
have
just
to do
crazy drivers right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like everybody's lost.
But
Absolutely.
that's where we need to be the professional, right?
That is correct.
I mean,
have to
we're,
rise
We
above
we
that.
have
are the
blind
ones.
spots in our cars.
Sure.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Sure.
not just the trucks.
Yeah.
You know, I see your trucks on the road daily, truck and trailers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just the way people are driving right now. They've lost their shit.
They have.
That's
yeah.
to put
Yeah,
it blunt.
you know, it
I mean,
has. It
it's
has.
crazy. I just cringe having to get on that highway.
Yeah. You know, we had several drivers yesterday during the Silent Warriors. Like Jam said, that's when we rolled this out at our Silent Warriors luncheon yesterday. And so many of those guys being Silent Warriors and so many 2-time recipients, several of them said, just don't change lanes. Get in your lane and stay there.
Right.
You know, and I mean, I bet when some people hear me say that, they're like, what? I don't have time for that. You
I
know?
have to change lanes.
Yeah, I mean, we had a complaint call yesterday, so we had to pull up video before we left last night, and we had a driver headed up to Fry's up I-70 through the, I'll say Genesee area, but anyway, I mean, he took I bet his blinker wasn't on for 4 blinks, and he went from the fast lane, bolted across the middle lane straight to the slow lane to pass a car that was in front of him, and he wound up getting caught. But I mean, I bet he crossed 2 lanes and that blinker hadn't even blinked 4 times yet. It was an ugly, ugly lane change.
So much work.
Yes.
So much work to end up not going anywhere.
Right.
And what was
It
interesting,
gained nothing.
So it was interesting. Check this out. So the way JR actually found this is he was looking at another truck, and while he was looking at video of another truck, here comes a JFW truck and passes him. He's like, oh, well, let me see how fast that truck was going and check all this stuff out, right? They were both going to Fry. That driver pulled into Fry 35 seconds before the truck that he passed. 35 seconds. And then you got to wait for the bin anyway.
Right.
It got you nowhere. It got you absolutely
And
nowhere.
You say that all the way to work and all the way. Why did you just do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It got you nowhere.
Got you
Right.
nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm still 1 car behind you.
Yeah, and you know what? For those
Right?
for those 35 seconds, you could have it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not worried about 35 seconds.
Right.
I'd rather not get a ticket, not have an accident, not get called into a meeting after work. You could have those 35 seconds
Right.
every time.
Yeah, because those 35 seconds are hours doing something else.
Yes.
Oh,
An
my gosh.
accident
Yes.
or anything,
Absolutely.
or a lifetime of court.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
not for nothing. That cost for 3 safety directors and myself 30 minutes. I mean, we stayed a half hour late by the time it was all done.
Yeah.
Plus, that cost money right there. So
Yeah. Yes.
And
yes.
that tells you how concerned our team is with taking a teaching moment like that, Jam. What a great job you guys do to take that as a learning moment. Here's your opportunity to be better.
Yep.
And we hope showing that and educating that driver that he'll never do that again. Hopefully
not.
think twice about that and realize, what did that gain me? I can just sit here in my lane and I'll get there 30 seconds later. Because
and-
I bet the driver that got passed was probably chill when he got there. And when this driver got there, he was like,
if you drive around for 12 hours like that, where you're on people's bumpers and you got to, obviously we have good situational awareness and we're checking things. But if you're Cadillacing, it's a lot different than if you're aggressive driving.
Oh, right.
You'll be exhausted at the end of 12 hours driving like that.
Yes.
Where a guy that, was Cadillacing all day, he'll get off of work and go do something at the house or go to the gym or,
Right.
and feel good. And,
Right.
So.
One of the things, Tammie, that was really a game changer for us, and I don't know whether we've mentioned it to you in our visits in the past when we're over there at the office and see you, but we switched camera systems a little over a year ago now. We had cameras from 3 years ago, but they were just reactive, is what I call them. And what that means is we could look up footage or find things, but until we got a call from the public, there was no one monitoring anything. I mean, we just weren't made aware of it. When we got a call from the public, we would look up, oh, yeah, this truck ran a red light. This is awful, blah, 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 blah. But it was reactive. It was only after a four-wheeler called, right? And usually when a four-wheeler calls, or that's what we call them, right? The four-wheeler, right? A car. The public, when someone calls, it's usually warranted. They're pissed, right? We've usually done something either dangerous or stupid or whatnot. Well, when we switched to this other camera system, Samsara, a year ago, just a little over a year ago now, it has artificial intelligence. So it tells us if you're following too close. It tells us we can set up speed zones where the flatbed came down the hill too fast 3 years ago and lost his brakes because he overheated and killed all the people there at 32nd Youngsfield. I mean, we have all that stuff in place. We know the minute one of our trucks are going over 45 miles an hour through that zone. And we have speed zones set up, and we train about it. We talk about it. We have the trainers educate them. We do it day one in orientation when they start here because we want to be the better company. I mean, we have all these bright red trucks running down the road. If we're doing it wrong, everyone knows. So that the education level with those cameras made us proactive. So now we get the email if you're following too close. We get the email if you're going too fast through that speed zone. We get the email if you ran that red light. And we get the email if you don't have your seatbelt on. And it's not a tattletale, but it has taken us and raised our bar so high. I mean, it has just made us a better company day and night. I mean, where we are today versus where we were 13 or 14 months ago, it's a game changer. And it has made all of our people so much better. It's a wonderful tool.
Now, is there a system in every truck?
There is.
There is.
Every single truck. And, when we first put cameras in 3 years ago, we had some pushback, right? There were the old timers that were like, I don't want you watching me pick my nose or, whatever. And we're like,
We don't want to watch that either.
yeah, dude, there's no one sitting here just looking at cameras 24/7. We don't have the time for that, right? We only look when there's an issue. So now with the artificial intelligence, we only look if we get an email.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big no-brainer.
Wow.
And those emails are instant, right? If that comes up that you're following too close, we get an email. And it gives them 30 seconds warning.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you got to be 1.5 seconds or closer for 30 seconds before you get an alert. So if you're going
at least 45 miles an hour.
yeah, so if you're going along and a car comes in front of you and takes away your following distance, you have 30 seconds to create that 1.5 seconds.
and drop off.
The thing of it, Tammie, is you need 4 seconds is what's considered safe, right? So, we're giving you 2.5 second grace to
And 30 seconds.
and 30 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep. All right. I did get a text from Coleman O'Mara, who's a young up-and-comer here at JFW. He wanted to give a shout-out, so let me put that out there. Good morning, Jam. Hopefully this can make it on the podcast today. I want to shout out all the drivers this morning on the way to Fair Play. They've all been very helpful, understanding with explaining how to get over the pass safely. So that's what we like to hear. We like to hear our guys helping each other be safe.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, chain laws went up over, did they go up over Kenosha, this
Kenosha?
morning or
Yeah,
over?
Kenosha.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, on the how are we rolling the blind spot out? Is that
Yeah, sorry, Jim. I shouldn't have moved on so quickly. It's going to be hand-to-hand combat. We'll be out at the fuel aisle.
love it?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it band to wrist?
yeah. So I mean, basically, we'll be posted up at the fuel aisle. If you come in, if you haven't received a contract and a bracelet, when we see you, we're going to ask you to do it.
Yeah.
So could be at the fuel aisle, could be at the dispatch counter, it could be in a meeting. It could be a one-on-one meeting I have with a driver or a safety meeting we have with the driver to, correct some behaviors or something like that. So it's going to be just however we could do it.
Yeah.
But we do plan on being posted at the fuel aisle. Kendrick and Casey, they have contracts and bracelets over at Yard 23 as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to see all those bracelets being worn.
Yep.
Just the friendly reminder when your hand's on the wheel to see that bracelet and think, I'm going to be cautious when I change lanes.
Which hand would you wear it on, Dave? Arm,
Well,
wrist?
I'd wear it on my left because that's the hand I drive with. I know you're supposed to be the two-person, but I'm the one hand.
That's your gangsta lean.
It is.
I was thinking about my right, so maybe it would remind me to look
To
right.
look right.
Put your blinker on.
So, with my left,
That's awesome. All right. Tips.
Dave, you look concerned. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. You look concerned, like you're looking at Jim, like, what the hell's he talking about?
No, not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, because you drove how many years, Const Dave? 20, 25? Been over the last 5 and never
Never had a lane change accident.
right. And the group of guys we met with yesterday, 19 of them have been 2 years without ever having that happen.
Or any accident.
Any
accident.
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
point.
just gave some criteria.
Right, that's what I was
Snap.
trying to skip, but you brag. 19 of them for 2 years, accident free.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then another 4 this year.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the 4 we just added. Yeah, so
Yep.
the thing is, it can be done. And I listen to you guys, and Tammie telling you about the cameras and stuff, and we did receive some pushback. And the guy that quit after we talked about his accident, those are the people that they just don't take the criticism or they don't want to be better, and that's all our goal is, again, and it's everywhere here about being better.
Yeah, I got sidetracked and didn't finish that story, right, Jim? That the pushback we had from some of the old timers that didn't want the cameras, then after they had them and understood how it protected them, if we had a camera go down or something, they were like, hey, my camera's out. When's it going to be fixed? When do I get that back? That's my proof that I did everything right, not
Sure.
anything wrong. So it's become a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Even on our social media, we'll have ads run on social media on Facebook for drivers, and out of the blue, someone will be like, JFW has inward-facing cameras. And it's like, that's all they say with like an exclamation point. And then somebody else will be like, so what? Like,
Right?
Yeah, it's 2023. Like most people.
9 out of 10 people I meet with have cameras in their current job trucks,
Right.
inward and outward.
Yeah.
And sometimes in their personal vehicle, you have to hear that too. I see more and more
Oh, yeah.
vehicles with the camera
Oh, yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, I have one. Yeah, I have one in the work truck, but I want to get one for both our vehicles at home too.
Yeah.
Like I want my wife to be protected as well.
Yeah.
yeah, because we just met with an insurance company that was trying to quote us and stuff, and we mentioned the cameras, and they're like, absolutely love them. You're either guilty or you're not.
That's right.
That's what it. That's
We don't
what it
we
got.
don't waste any time in court.
Any
If
time
we're
in
guilty,
court.
we try and settle. If we're not guilty, we're not guilty.
Guilty.
We're done. No money spent.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, a vide's worth 1,000,000 words.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
The things we have eliminated with that.
I mean, we should be able to talk about it, but the accident down in Castle Rock where the bicyclist was killed.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's done enough. We can mention it, don't you guys think?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we weren't involved in it anyway. We just had to
weren't.
catch
The video. They just asked for video,
Right.
and we were able to show that even the trucks in front of us, they didn't have cameras. They weren't involved.
Right.
I mean, we actually exonerated ourselves and the other trucks that were involved.
Yeah.
Which is, tragic accident. A bicyclist was hit on a job we were hauling out of, but by a pickup, though nothing to do with us, Tammie. But they tried to. Because it's such a horrific accident, the family tried to bring everybody in at fault.
Sure.
Because they're trying to put their lives back together,
Sure.
basically.
Actually, it was the dealership.
And
Yeah, so the long story short, mechanic was on a test drive in a Ford Raptor, killed a bicyclist. The family was suing Ford.
Yeah.
Well, then Ford said, well, what about, this
Everybody
pit,
else that was down
and
there.
what about these red trucks?
Yeah.
So they try to incorporate other people. So
yeah, absolutely, and it just exonerated us. We had nothing to do with it. Just a terrible mistake by the guy driving the pickup.
yeah, it's
There you
exonerated
go,
us for
to
a
add the
lot.
cameras.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's
It's
a
over
no-brainer.
and done with. I mean,
Absolutely.
they presented it to the court. Court's like, they don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
We had a woman during COVID up on Highway 85. I
Yeah.
think it was right in 2020 because I don't think anything had opened up yet. So I would tell you it was June, July of 2020.
I'd agree.
And this woman climbed up the embankment there past Highway 7, the roundabout there for the Brighton exit, northbound Highway 85. And she actually played Frogger. She avoided the car coming up the on-ramp because the guy stopped. Then the car in the slow lane, well, we were in the slow lane. There was a vehicle in front of us. That guy was able to avoid her, but she literally tried to jump right in front of our truck. And we have it all on camera, that the driver did everything in his power. He went from the slow lane to the fast lane and then went down in the median to avoid her and barely bumped her with the right front corner. But he did everything in his power to avoid her and stop, and he still kind of thumped her in the corner. And luckily, I think she broke a hip or something like that.
Yeah,
But-
some ribs on arm or
yeah, I mean, for what she tried to do and what she did,
yeah.
two different things. But
She had COVID psychosis.
that was actually we call it a joke. I mean, it's funny, but that was what the police said. She had COVID psychosis, and she couldn't handle it, and she was going to end herself. But screw up everyone else's lives in the
Right.
process of doing it. And some people just don't think of that. But anyway, those cameras were able to prove right there on scene. I had the footage right there on my phone. Like here, police department. I mean, we shut down the interstate or the highway there, and we're showing them, and they're like, "You guys did a great job," And of course, we get back here to the office. That was at 10 in the morning. By the time we got here to the office, the insurance company had flown a specialist out. We had to go over everything in that driver's file. We had to meet with the driver. They had to meet with the driver. I mean, everything about it, Tammie. I mean, your world is changed in 5 seconds on the road if you're not 100% focused.
Sure.
And that's the purpose, You shouldn't be using your phone while you're driving.
Well, that's what I
That's the
wanted to
reason
mention,
all of
Dave,
these distractions.
Jam mentioned, they have inward-facing cameras.
Right.
So that's what we never even looked at the driver until we needed to.
Right.
And then we looked at the inward-facing camera because they wanted to make sure, just like you were saying, Dave, we weren't on the phone.
Right.
We weren't.
They wanted footage from Bromley and Highway 85 all the way past Highway 7.
Yeah.
and 85 where we hit the woman.
Yeah, I actually got into, well, I don't want to say I got into a debate because I just quit answering, but same Facebook ad, the guy's like, oh, they got inward-facing cameras. And I just took the high road and explained why we haven't and what we've been exonerated from, and I brought up that case. And the guy came back like, oh, the outward-facing camera would have been enough to exonerate you. They would have had all that they needed. But when the police asked to see what the driver's been doing, and we could be like, he was 10-2 and, you know, had a heads up and did everything possible to avoid hitting the lady. I mean, that's just powerful for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, God forbid if the guy
And
would
the
have
driver.
right been on
Yeah,
the phone.
yeah.
But the thing is he was doing something illegal. If he
If
would
he
have been
was.
on the phone, if he
Right.
would have been on the phone,
He was doing something
and
illegal.
you know, would we have had proof that he was on the phone? Yes. Would that have been the worst for the driver? Yes. But it's illegal. You're not supposed to do it.
No.
And that's what other people from other companies were saying is, if you're not doing anything wrong in the cab of that truck, why do you care?
Why are you
Right.
worried?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
Why are you worried?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that guy said, well, when they put cameras on everybody's desk, you'll know how we feel. And I'm just like, put a camera
Put
on
a
my-
camera in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a camera in the desk, put a camera in my company vehicle. You know, that's
Yeah.
Could you put a little buzzer on it when I'm feeling sleepy at my desk and help wake me up? I mean, some days is a struggle.
Oh, shots fired. Okay, Jim.
You know, shots fired. That's me, Jim. Help me out, man. It's sometimes it's a struggle during the day.
Hey, I'm just going with the Japanese thing where if you fall asleep at your desk, it means you're a hard worker.
I work my ass off. Shoot.
All right, tips and tricks from Ray Davis. Does anybody else want to read this? Because you can. Otherwise, I will.
Yeah, go for it, Jim.
Okay. Tips and tricks, loading at Morrison. Morrison has this stigma that it's so hard and horrible. Well, that's a lie. We are JFW, and we could do all things. Never go into a place with a negative thought. It just makes it negative. Morrison is just another place we load at. First thing you want to do at Morrison is look and know your surroundings. Let everyone know where you're going. You need to put your right blinker on and let others know you are going to the bins. There are trucks going up and down on the left of you. If there's a line for the bins, most likely the bins are low on rock. So when you pull under the bin, make sure you are in the center of the bin. Roll down your window and listen. You can hear if the bin is still filling up or not. And that's important. If you get into that bin and you just hear like a rattling, kind of like a pop can sound,
Right.
that means there's no material in that bin. And if you hit the 29 or the 27, I mean, you're not going to get a full load, not
Yeah.
even close. So give it a good 4 or 5 minutes to fill up that bin. If you don't and there isn't enough rock in the bin, you will be short on rock, and it throws rock everywhere when it's empty. Make sure your mirror is tipped up and you can see in your trailer. Lock your diff. That's important because when you get under there, you got to now kind of pull uphill, and
Right.
locking your diff in is just going to help you. Once you have waited a good 4 to 5 minutes, I like to push the 27-second button first, get in my truck, and put the truck in low gear and wait till it starts to fill. I like to fill the front of the trailer, and once it starts to fill the nose of the trailer, I move all the way to the rear of the trailer. It's easier to back downhill and load from the back to the front than the front to the back because in that ditch, the truck will roll back, and when heavy, the truck takes a second to move forward and will cause you to spill over the sides, and you will have to shovel that rock so that you are not using the tarp to push the rock. You should never use a tarp to push any material. That's not what it's meant for. Once the rock stops, you will have a void to fill, and you can add rock manually. You should know how much rock and what level it should be to pull a legal load out. We do it every day at Fry. If you're not sure, look at your loads from Fry and see how much is in your trailer. Make sure when you pull out and uphill, you still have it locked in low gear. If you need to trim up top, you will need to put your hazards on and stay to the left. That's important because we drive on the opposite side of the road there. Having your hazards on will let others know you're loaded. Have a great day. Have a great and safe day. Much love and respect always. Ray 0012.
Good tips, Ray Ray. Good job.
Anybody want to add anything to that?
No, it's always all his tips and tricks are well written, Jim.
I got one addition. and Ray actually wanted to add this in, there is an emergency stop button as well.
Yes.
So, if you're getting overloaded and you're in your truck, first thing I would do is pull out of the way, and then instead of just dumping another 30 tons of material on the ground, go ahead and hit that red stop button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you if you're going to try to add a little more, like use the pinch button or the toggle, do it at the back of your trailer because that does malfunction. And if you're doing it in the tail of the trailer, you can just jump right in your truck and drive out. Yep. We had an instance several years ago, probably 10 years ago, I don't know, a long time ago, where that bin stayed open and the driver hit the emergency stop and it didn't work.
Right.
But he was loading in the nose of the trailer. It had already started to overflow and it locked in his drives. He couldn't get out because there was too much rock on the ground.
Yeah.
So if that's going on for you, if it's at the tailgate of the trailer, hopefully you can get in your truck and drive on out and just let the material pile on the ground.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Dave Ramsey Finance Tips brought to you by Linda Frazier. I think we're getting close. I think this was a 4-week thing Linda was doing.
Was it?
Yeah, and I do notice we still have one book left downstairs.
I did see the one left, yeah.
If anyone wants to pick up a book that'll change your life financially and get you out of debt, now's the time to come grab it. And if we run out and you want to order one, I'm sure they're fairly cheap on Amazon. Don't believe the lies. Debt robs your present and steals from your future. Debt keeps you stuck in a cycle that makes it impossible to build wealth. And debt can weigh you down so much you can't see a way out. Lie number 1, debt is normal or even helpful. Living in debt kills the American dream. Do you want to start living your dream sooner? Lie number 2, you don't make enough money to live debt-free. Whether it takes you 6 months or 6 years, paying off your debt is possible no matter what your income looks like. Number 3, the sacrifices aren't worth it. Sometimes it's not about making more, it's about spending less. We know it's hard to say no to eating at restaurants and going on vacation, but remember, it's just a short-term sacrifice for long-term financial peace, and a lifetime of freedom from debt is worth it. So ask yourself, what am I willing to give up now so I can get out of debt forever? Here are some ideas. Try a no-spend month where you don't buy any non-essential items. I need to do that one. I need to just cancel my Amazon account and just...
Man, you can only buy so much hunting gear, though, right, Jam? I mean...
What? Oh, do we not put that? That was a question. Let me get through this. I have one more question for you, Tammie.
Uh-oh, you're on the spot now.
Yeah. Give up that daily Starbucks fix and brew your coffee at home while you pack up your brown bag lunch. Skip your expensive vacation at the beach and do a budget-friendly staycation, or even better, skip vacation altogether until you're debt-free. Sell your super nice car that comes with a monthly payment and pay cash for one you can afford. Right now, in 2022, the average car payment is $700 a month. Imagine how quickly you can get out of debt applying $700 to your debt snowball. Is this challenging? Yes. Is it temporary? Also yes. I mean, look at that. That's $8,400 in a year in a car payment, right? Lie number 4, having a budget limits your freedom. But the truth is, a budget gives you freedom. A budget is a plan for your money, and when you have a plan for every dollar you make, you'll finally be in control of your money instead of wondering why you're so broke. People say budgeting makes them feel like they got a raise because they find money they're wasting because they didn't have a plan for it. Lie number 5, I want it and I want it now. Here's the deal. If you can't pay cash for it, you can't afford it. Buying stuff with debt will only weigh you down. Between credit cards and buy now, pay later plans, our culture has twisted what it means to actually be able to afford something. Society screams, have it now, pay for it later. But that's just another crooked lie about money that'll send you straight into piles of debt and years of regret and stress. The reality is you'll end up spending more on monthly payments plus interest than you would have spent if you just bought the thing outright. Instead, don't buy things you can't pay for right now, ever. Dave Ramsey actually has 12 lies listed on his website, RamseySolutions.com. Check it out. You can do this. I love that Linda's doing this. I mean, these are great tips. I'll tell you, I've read the book. I haven't done the whole book, but I did get out of debt using the debt snowball. I used to be under so much credit card debt. It's just all your money goes to that, and you just spin your wheels and spin your wheels and spin your wheels. Right now, I got a mortgage and 2 car payments. That's my debt. You know what I mean? Would I like to have a house that's paid off? Hell yeah. Would I like not to have any car payments? Hell yeah. But I'm not there yet. So
it does when you read this. I guess I have to jump in there and be sure. The odds of someone saving enough money to pay for a home are pretty slim to none. You know what I mean? Especially in today's market. Is it possible? Yeah, it probably is possible. Anybody that has ever sat down and bought a home and ever amortized their loan,
Right.
I mean, anyone that understands how that works, you can hop right online and search any amortization calculator and put in your payment, put in how much you borrowed, put in how much interest, and then you can look at the end and go, oh my God, I bought a $400,000 house
for $700,000.
and I'm paying $300,000 in interest.
Right.
So there's give and take to that.
Yep.
And I feel so sorry for young homeowners today at the interest rates we're at.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
hard.
it's mind-boggling. And we were there once, right?
Yep.
I mean, 15, 20 years ago, today's interest rate of 8% was good.
Right.
It was like, oh, you bought a home, you got 8% interest. That's a good deal,
Yes.
know. Well, we've been spoiled by the last decade plus, right?
Yeah.
At 3% or whatever, and it's just hard. I mean, it's hard to understand. So there are pros and cons, but still living within your means is the short version of what this is.
Absolutely. Yep. Don't write checks you can't cash.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like the first house I bought was like 13%. It seemed like it was around that back in the late 80s.
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
when we bought the first house, and like you're saying, Dave, when we got down to 8 and 7, you're like, oh, we got to refinance. It's fantastic.
Right,
And,
yeah.
Now you had stuff, or hopefully over the last few years you've refinanced. If you had your home for 2-3%, you're down in that market now, because that's something I wanted to mention, and you touched on it. Your current credit cards, if you've been late or you've done anything or missed a payment or anything like that, all the credit cards have bumped to the new interest rates, and you're caught up in that. So, or a credit card you're getting now or anything like that. And like you said, the new home buyers trying to qualify at, 7%. I noticed some of the car dealerships just this weekend, some of the commercials, they are offering like 0%. For
qualified customers, yeah.
But qualifying usually means you have a good credit rating.
Right.
You're not going to qualify unless you follow these ways to get out of debt and create a good credit rating.
And if that's in your budget, I mean, I've always used the term, if that's 0% financing, that's free money.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
They're
it
giving
is.
you free money. I mean, I'm not telling you to rush right out and buy cars if you can get it at 0%, but that you have to look at that a little bit.
I'd like to have 0% on
Right?
my cards. That'd be awesome.
Have you ever sat down and amortized a loan before, Jam? Have you ever
I mean,
looked at that? I
yeah.
mean, clearly you know what I'm talking about. 'Cause
Absolutely.
You rattled it off.
Yeah.
I'll
I mean,
never
it's-
forget, like a year ago, I go to the same gal that cuts my hair, and she's a young girl, right? I mean, I don't even know if she's over 21 or barely in her 20s, right? And she was talking, she bought a new car. She works in Broomfield, but she has to drive in from Brighton. And I think she actually crashed her old one. And all of a sudden she's having to pay higher interest or higher insurance rates. And, we just got in this whole conversation, and she's like, I don't see how I'll ever be able to buy a home. I only qualify for X amount. And I just said, have you ever amortized any of your loans or done anything like that? And she's like, what? What is that? What word are you saying? And I sit there getting my haircut, kind of giving the financial advice, and it's like old man talking to this young girl, and it was weird. It was like another realm for me almost. But if someone doesn't share that with people, they don't know, right?
They won't teach you that in school.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
No, and
But go ahead.
I thought you were headed there when you talked about that, Dave. Is you can put $50 or $100 a month extra on your home, and you can add it to the interest. You don't have to add it to the principal, and that saves you so much money over 10 years.
You'd want to add it to the principal, not the interest.
To stop. I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah.
To stop the interest because you're paying off the principal sooner. Yes,
And that's what I do. They say make an extra payment a year, right? So I don't want to drop that kind of cash in a year, but what I did is I divided that by 12 and I make an extra payment a month. You know, that would equal extra payment a year.
Yeah.
That cuts a 30-year loan down, and I've heard
It's
different
like
things.
18 or something.
It's less than 20.
Less
you
than
just
20.
took 10 years
Exactly.
and saved possibly
Hundreds of
tens
thousands of
or if not hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
for that little bit per
Right.
month.
And then, you know, you're saying, you know, a paid off, you know, somebody can't really, like, I see what you're saying. Like, to go buy, if I wanted to buy a $400,000 house, I mean, yeah, I can't afford to go do that, right?
Right.
But what Dave Ramsey says is the paid off home mortgage is now replacing the BMW.
Yes.
And the driveway as a status symbol.
Yes.
Right? So better, like, okay, you know, you want to buy a car, the car payment's going to be $700 a month. Dave Ramsey will tell you, save $700 a month so you could buy that car.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And how much money you're going to save.
Right. And interest and
Absolutely. And people just don't realize that.
but that's
They-
a tough one too. I mean,
It is.
You know,
it is. At least, though, I mean, generally, you're the person. You're already in your home when
Right.
that happens, right? So you can drive the '89 Escort, right?
Right.
You can keep getting by with your vehicle,
Yeah.
hopefully, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully,
if that
it's
doesn't
fairly good
bother you,
transportation.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it doesn't
Yeah.
bother you to buy an older car, and you know, I
But you can't afford those either.
it's getting hard.
Sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah, they're coming back down. I mean, the used car market
is-
it went up. What you know, it kind of stunk. But my wife, she wrecked. Well, she got hit from the behind, totaled the car, and we made like $7,000 on that car because the used car prices went up that much. And I was like, what? No, like, how is this
Right,
possible?
right.
You know, but now they're starting to come back down.
The market has definitely softened.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I just was talking about financial stuff, and I've heard it several times lately, watching some financial stuff, and for the like Omar with his new baby and stuff, and I know it's a chunk of money probably for all of us, but there is, and I hope I have the words right, the custodial 401k Roth, and they were showing it the other day that if you have $6,000, if you want to give your kids or a financial freedom to retirement, is that $6,000 deposited in that custodial 401k Roth right now? When they retire, it will be over $6 million
Oh my goodness.
at the age 65.
Wow.
And that, because it's a Roth and because it's a custodial one, it saves them almost $2 million in taxes.
Wow.
And so if you just want to take care of your kids right now's future,
Wow.
if you can, you know, and it doesn't have to be $6,000.
Now, wait a minute. Is that just teaching them not to work?
Don't tell them about it.
Just don't
Don't
tell
tell-
them.
Yeah,
don't tell them
retirement.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell
Yeah.
them. When you die, then they'll know.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's so many tips and tricks, but it just, you know, you have to be
stuff.
looking for them, or
Yeah.
or you know,
You
it's
have
like
to
taking.
it's like
it's
anything else. You have to educate yourself.
Yeah,
in
and
it.
like when you're talking about financial stuff, is the same as taking care of your stuff and eating right. You know, it all snowballs together.
Yeah, financial health.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. Questions from the audience? Ray Davis. Big surprise. Question for the podcast. I know the right answer, but do others? Is it okay to use our overweight permits if the roads have a little ice on them, just coming down one big mountain or a little stretch of road? Is it at the driver's discretion, or is it a hard no? What do you guys think?
Hard no.
Hard no.
Yeah, and he discussed that with me yesterday because he said, "I got this. Can I read that to you?" And I think he was testing me, Jam. But
Or testing himself.
yeah, but you know, being spot on. But I guess I want to elaborate a little bit because when he brought it up, and you guys just mentioned it, the chain law was on Kenosha. So just because it's nice here and it's nice in Fairplay, you have to drive through that spot of poor conditions. And so that was what he asked me. He says, "Is it okay to use your overweight permit?" And again, no, because you still have to go through that spot. You know, that there's still adverse conditions someplace on your route. It might be perfectly fine where you're at. So remember that.
Yep.
It's the whole route.
Sure. Ray goes on and says, adverse driving conditions or weather events, including but not limited to snow, ice, sleet, and fog, as well as unusual road or traffic conditions, I know it's been a little bit of a rough winter, but let's do it the JFW way and set our bars high. The busy season's coming. So I do like your point, Jim. Like, you can't, say, oh, well, it's beautiful. I'm going to take 92,000, but the chain law's up somewhere. That's
Right?
Yeah,
That's a great point.
Yeah,
So.
and I like his. You could probably relate the same thing to when we were talking about going down the mountain. It's 30 seconds. That truck was 30 seconds behind. You just grab your 27, your 28 tons. You go on with it. Well, that'd still be overweight on the 85.
Right.
But you just grab it and go.
Right.
Your health, because you're not worried about it, the health of other people, because you're not endangering somebody, all that, and a little bit of money less than what you made, it's just not worth it.
The worry is a big one for me, Jim.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a load and not worry than take a load and worry about getting pulled over or getting a ticket or
Absolutely.
getting called into the office because I ran out of our parameters, you know what I mean? So, yep.
Yeah.
Soup, you got a high road hauling loaded up for us?
I do. All right. Well, this week we've got a pretty good high road hauling. I guess I was thinking about some of the current events and things that are, tough to deal with every day, whether they're personal, professional, or anything that's outside of our control. But the topic this week is what it means to dig deep. The mind is a powerful thing, and that can be both good and bad. It's bad when we let it take over. We allow the negative thoughts to ruminate and hold us back. But if we dig deep enough into the core of our thoughts and behaviors, we can develop our emotional intelligence and use our mind to push us forward. We are capable of so much more than we believe. We quit too early and we stop pushing ourselves just before we've reached the threshold of growth, and we let fear keep us stuck in the same spot. To dig deep means to make an effort with all of your resources. Digging deep refers to your ability to look inside yourself and see your potential, and using all that you have to reach your goals, to live out your values and overcome obstacles. It refers to your resiliency or your ability to bounce back after setbacks. Digging deep requires a growth mindset, a willingness to get uncomfortable in order to change and improve. Goals, big or small, aren't easy to reach. They take effort, determination, and persistence. Most of us have many goals that go unreached, not because we aren't capable, but because we don't dig deep enough to realize our potential. We quit because we think we are unworthy or unable. We lack motivation to continue because we believe failure means we can't, rather than using it as a lesson to be better. When we get to the core of who you are and what you want out of life, you will be on your way to setting these goals on fire. There's certainly nothing wrong with a little healthy competition, but we tend to focus too much of our energy on others and not enough on ourselves. Not everyone is in the same level, age, knowledge, skill, or experience. All of these things affect a person's drive towards their goals. You are your biggest competition. The goal is to work towards being a better version of yourself each and every day. Dig deep. Determine who you are, where you want to be, and then ask yourself what you can do today to get closer to that goal. We always say we need a why, and we've said that before on the High Road Hauling too. But digging deep requires you to take it a step further. Instead of stating your why, find your mission. Determine what your goals mean to you, how they will impact your life and the lives of others, and how they will help you to live out your values. No matter what you're trying to do, whether it's reaching a fitness goal, living out your passion, or striving for the career of your dreams, don't expect it to always be rainbows and butterflies. There are going to be times when you don't feel like it, where you want to give up, where you consider if it is all really worth it. You've got to trudge through the drudgery and get it done. Digging deep, remind yourself of your mission, believe in what you can do, and get through it. Use those challenges to grow and become better. Understand that nothing worth having comes easy. Imagine the sense of fulfillment and accomplishment you'll feel when you overcome the hard part. Challenges are all a part of the journey, and you don't have to like them, but you will have to embrace and trudge through them. It will be worth it in the end. And the quote this week is, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And that was spoken by Barack Obama.
Wow.
So there you go. Everybody dig deep. When you think you're up against that wall, you can't go anymore, dig deep because you got it inside of you.
Yeah. I love that spot in there, Dave, where you say that you have to focus on yourself. You can't worry about what the others are doing or what they're saying. You know,
Isn't
had
that
to,
so common nowadays too?
It is.
You're always looking at the Joneses out there.
Yeah. Dave, I just had to take 3 kids spent the night last night, and I had to drop them at the airport at 5 this morning because they're headed to Texas for sectionals. And on the way down 470 this morning, to get them to the airport at 5, they're talking about they're getting a new coach, and they're hoping that the coach is really going to crack down on the girls, right? Because the boys and girls swim together. And I'm like, what's the problem with the girls? Well, they're not focused at practice, and they don't work as hard, and they, and they just sit in kibitz and blah blah. And I said, you know what? You need to focus on you and not worry about them. You need to learn right now in life. You need to worry about you. You can't worry about what they're doing.
That is
And
You are your biggest competition. I love that line.
Absolutely, Dave. And it's so funny. I mean, you're talking about it, and here I just preached it this morning. There was a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 15-year-old in the pickup at 5 this morning, headed to Texas for a swim meet. So.
In today's age, you're talking about don't compare yourselves to other people. You may not even really be comparing yourselves to their real life. Social media has painted this picture for them that they have this amazing life, and it may not even be true.
True. Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ran across a quote, and it just keeps. I wasn't going to use it today, but
Do it.
it keeps ringing in my head. It says, "Everybody is a genius, but if you always expect that fish to climb a tree, you'll never see the genius."
Right.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, how? Because you're looking at somebody else. You're looking at the girls, right, Dave? And you're expecting them to be geniuses, but I don't know what their focus is.
Yeah.
And you have to concentrate on what that fish can do or what you can do.
And who's to say they're wrong?
Right. Yeah, that's what
you know what I mean? That was just what I told the guys. I was like, you need to focus on you.
Hey,
You don't worry about them.
Are they breaking records? Let them talk.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, everybody?
Yeah, I'm going to jump right in there. I had a few minutes this morning, and I kind of glanced through the paper, try and keep up on some current affairs a little bit. That's my only source of outside information. Otherwise, I live in the JFW bubble. I don't know what's going on in the world, it seems like. But anyway, right here, this hit near and dear to home today. Article on the inside of the front page, and it says air permit that was issued by state gets vacated. Wow. And a judge in Adams County, and this is what furthered me to read the article, judge finds application for tanker truck repair company was not properly vetted. So the first paragraph in here says district judge in Adams County threw out a tanker truck repair company's state issued air permit after two environmental groups argued that it had been granted by Colorado regulators without a scientific review to find out just how much pollution would be emitted. So, Polar Tank Company right over there off 74th and Dahlia, right there on the corner of Dahlia, right across from the brand new, coincidentally, Adams County brand ass new building that we're all paying for, that Adams County can't find $200 million from last year's taxes, but don't get me started on that.
I want to move.
Right? So anyway, what was the big push for this air permit to be revoked? And they say, I love how they word it. It's so kind. It was issued by the state and they vacated it. Vacated it. They revoked the permit.
They went back.
It should say revoked.
They went back on their word.
Exactly. They vacated it. And it's the first time this has ever happened. I mean, Polar Tank Company, they have been there since the 70s, right? So I read a little further in here, and it says, the Center for Biological Diversity, And I'm thinking, what? The Center for Biological Diversity? So I had to look up what biological diversity was, let alone the center. That's one business is what they've created, is the Center for Biological Diversity. But biological diversity, and right here, when you look it up on the web, it says biological diversity is all different kinds of life you'll find in one area. That makes sense, right? Over there's business, there's homes, there's schools, there's, a multitude of things because of the area, right? And it says the variety of animals, plants, fungi, and even microorganisms like bacteria make up our natural world. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then the rest of the definition is each of these species and organisms work together in ecosystems like an intricate web to maintain balance and support life. So the name of this group is the Center for Biological Diversity. Do you think getting the state to revoke that permit is working together? They didn't go to Polar and go, hey, is there something else you can do? Do you have something? And make a long story short here, you guys, and it's what we talked about earlier. We need to start educating our kids, our neighbors, our parents, anybody we know about the peril that our industry, and when I say our industry, it's industry, not just trucking, our industry as a whole. It doesn't matter if you're in any type of manufacturing or production or transportation, we're in peril. I feel like we're in the 8th of 9 lives, and I don't mean to make it sound that dangerous or that hopeless or that bad, but you need to talk to your neighbors. You need to educate your kids. Not all industry is bad, I mean, they basically went in and this company was trying to do things right. They've been there for over 50 years. They went and got a permit. The state said, how do you do this? They investigated it, answered the questions, here's your permit. Now this environmental agency just shows up and says, oh, no, you didn't do that right. And was able to take their permit back. And all the permit is for, you guys, is everyone has seen the tankers that deliver fuel. If you own a car, you need gas or fuel for your car.
Right.
That means we need tankers on the road. That means, and whether everyone knows this or not, you have to have an annual tanker inspection, just like we do on our trucks. But it's a special inspection when it's a tanker because it's a more critical fluid that's hauled.
Sure.
We just inspect our vehicles for safety, and we can do that ourselves. These vehicles, every tanker you see on the road needs to be taken into a business somewhere, and they need to ensure that it has a safe rating, that it holds X amount of air pressure for X amount of time, and it's sealed, and it's not going to leak, and this, that, and the other, right? Well, the only way to do that is they put a human being inside that tanker and inspect it. Well, before they do, they have to burn off the fumes. So they use what's called a flare. They put the flare in there. It burns off whatever fumes are in there, and then it's safe for a human being to go in there. They've done this for 50 years, right? That's how you get it out. And now, because they were doing it right and the state, I'm using air quotes, vacated, or like I like to say, revoked their permit, they're not allowed to do that. So there's no repercussions for it. It doesn't say what the company is going to do next. But it does say further down in the article, it's unclear what Polar Service Centers, which recently merged with a company named Quala, is doing now that their permit has been denied. The Commerce City Service Center's manager and corporate spokesman did not return messages left by the Post, which I wouldn't either. I wouldn't know. No matter what you say, it's going to be wrong or misconstrued, right? It does say here, it's possible the company is airing out tankers without the flare and releasing the pollutants anyway. The spokesman for the biological company says, and the spokesman for the biological company also says they hope it's considering other technologies that allow workers to clean the tanks while not polluting the community. Wow. So I mean, this is the third permit that I know of that Adams County has been involved in that has revoked. I mean, they just took the conditional use permit for Asphalt Specialties. So they can't produce asphalt there at the corner of 64th and Broadway anymore. Now we can't get our tankers repaired. And when I say our tankers, I mean, we have fuel delivered almost every day to our yard here. If not this yard, we have it delivered to the other yard to keep our trucks running. So educate. We talked about it. The only way we can figure this out is to keep talking about it. Explain to your kids that industry isn't bad. Explain that trucks aren't bad. Explain, we need Suncor. right? I mean, these are things that we need. We also do need a great environment. And I think when you look at the leaps and bounds we have made, I mean, Tammie, I don't know if you know the not the semantics, but the technicalities of where our trucks have come in just the last decade, let alone the last 15 or 20 years. I mean, we used to emit, I don't know the volume of carbon our trucks used to emit when all the black smoke came out, but I know this coming year for 24, right now we're only allowed 0.2%, and we're about to hit 0.02%. I think that's less than a cigarette. I think that's less than one cigarette, right, that our trucks are going to emit in carbon. We are no longer the cause of global warming. And it's time that people understand global warming is not America warming the earth. It's global. It's from around the world.
It's China, Brazil.
And again, we need to step back and educate
all your other products.
that it's global warming coming from everyone around the globe, not just the United States of America. They're about to cripple us. We're becoming crippled. We're tightening the noose that we're hanging by, like knot by knot, inch by inch. And talk to your kids, help educate. Talk to your teachers when you go to conferences. It might not be a debate you want to have, but we got to start educating somewhere. Yep. So that's
and biologically, I would rather see a tanker just leak fuel and gas. I mean, from stopping that test,
Or explode in a fender bender accident.
right?
Yeah,
But stopping
right.
that test of that small deal of what we might be doing to the environment, we're doing that test so that we don't leak and spill all over every place. But that's not a concern. The concern is that there's that flare going off, burning off the excess fuel. Not that what that's stopping from doing.
Yeah, I mean
And that's what nobody recognizes, Dave, is the evil.
Yeah, this biological diversity group, when they went in and they fought the state on this, they said rather all the division used, meaning the state, all the division of its CDPHE, Colorado Department of Health and Public Welfare, said the division used to make the decision was one employee spending 10 minutes on site at Polar to come up with the conclusion that he did not feel there would be any ambient air quality standard violations. That means a state agent went in, looked at their practices, investigated how they are
10
doing
minutes.
it, spent his due diligence, right? I mean, pretty well when you walk in somewhere, when I've said it looks like a fish, smells like a fish, it's probably a fish. This state agent probably walked in and was like, they're doing this protocol. They're doing this. That's how it gets done. That's what's regulated. They've met all the requirements probably in 10 minutes. It was probably that easy. Here's your permit. And this group was able to go behind the scenes and get the state to vacate that. Wow. And it just scares me what's next. That's something that probably Polar never dreamt would happen. Mm-mm. They've been in business all these years. They're trying to do it right.
Right. And that's
right?
Not even enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Yeah. At what point do you just pull the plug and enough's enough? Yep. And I think to what you were kind of getting at, Tammie, that I think at a certain point when we say it's going to get worse before it gets better, there's going to be people that they can't fight anymore. This Polar could be a company that just goes, we're not going to do business in Colorado anymore. We're out.
Exactly.
Good luck, Colorado. Yep. And we're just becoming a step closer to becoming that California.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Jim?
Cheer us up, Jim. Give me something better.
Okay. I got wisdom for you, Dave.
Sweet. I need wisdom.
So on my vacation here,
I'm happier already.
we stopped at the store, a clothes outlet store, and Holly's shopping, and I kind of like to watch people,
What?
And
on the beach in Florida? What?
well, that would have been a better place than shopping. So while I'm waiting for Holly, there's this, and I'm assuming because it fits that there was this mother and her two daughters, and the daughters were, 20s, in their 20s or so. But they filled several shopping carts full of clothes, and they went to an aisle, and they all met up from different parts of the store, and they all talked about each piece of stuff that they'd picked up, whether it was shoes, a sweater, a knick-knack, or whatever. But as they talked about it, and if they decided as a group that they didn't want the item, they slid it under the clothes they were standing at instead of putting the...
Oh my God, you probably came unglued.
Right? The cart Nazi just became the clothes put her away Nazi.
And I'm thinking, and I mean, this went on for 15 minutes. They pretty much emptied the 3 shopping carts of things they didn't want and just placed them,
hit 'em
in the aisle. And I'm thinking, so like it's driving me crazy, right? And I'm thinking, okay, what can I say to these people? Can I just... Is there something I can say that doesn't sound like I'm an asshole, or bring him? No. Bring him. No, Dave, you're right. You're right. No, and I watch this, and then we go to check out, and I have to show it to Holly. I'm like, Holly, come over here and look at me. And she goes, "Where's all that stuff from?" They emptied their carts there in the clothes aisle, and it's you can. There was enough stuff you could push. You couldn't barely push a cart through the stuff. They emptied so much out, and then on top of it, they ended up behind us in line to check out. And I'm like, okay, I can get this,
Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing.
Yeah, but so 2 things. I want to read my quote, but the other thing is, they're not the best customers. But they're still that store's customers, and they're still making purchases, and that store still needs them as customers. I know the store has to pick the stuff up for them, but they're still their customers. So you have to look past a lot. You still have to look at, what am I here to do as the store, is sell my items. And that's what they did. All right. So a person that would live in peace and at ease must not speak all he knows or judge all he sees. So
did you have that quote while you were watching that?
No, I wish I did, Jim, because I left not saying a word.
That sounds like a Buddha quote, or maybe a Gandhi quote, or
Author
something
unknown.
like that.
When I was looking through it, believe it or not, I think it was one of Benjamin Franklin's
wow.
quotes. I think I'd have to go back
What's
and look.
funny is that's basically what your High Road Holland was about, and that's what I just said about the boys not worrying about what the girls do. You have to focus on yourself. You needed to focus on yourself. The store needed to focus on itself. But is that when we become hypercritical, or not hypercritical, but what's the word I'm thinking for when you tell somebody they can't do something but you do it?
Condescending. Hypocrite.
Hypocrite is the word I'm looking for, exactly. Because you wouldn't do it, but they do it. Is that hypocritical?
I struggle with all that, Dave. We make the decisions around here all the time, Dave, of what we think is correct.
Right.
But are we looking at the bigger picture of being that store, and we still have to make the sale?
Sure.
Do we put our personal goals and thoughts and ideas, and we talk about our creed? Is there places of the creed that aren't as important as others, and how you reach them? Because that's your idea. What I know you're going Jam, but what is the end goal? Do you still need to make a sale?
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the creed, who dictates that that's right?
That's it. That's
you know what I mean?
And right or wrong. You know what I mean? What do we? Does JFW need to make a sale?
I mean, I feel like we believe in that creed so much, it's all important. But when I say we wrote it, I didn't write it. You guys were involved in it, but it's something that...
But do we need to judge all that we see?
Nope.
What's funny, Jam, is Jim and I didn't write that either.
Right.
But when Mick was in, he just kept asking us questions.
Right. And that's what he did.
What's important? What do you guys want to do with this business? What do you guys want to do? That's all he kept asking. Where do you want this business to go? And what's funny is it wasn't until the creed was done, because he These are his words
Right.
that he gathered from everything, and he put them in the order that we spoke about them. And it wasn't until he brought it to our attention, never one time did it say in here, we want to be rich or we want to have a lot of money, or, he brought the
500 trucks.
financial aspect to it.
Right.
And that's not our concern. We just, number one, we have to face and overcome all that stands before us. Number two, we have to be accident free, and I mean, it was interesting after he put all of the questions he was asking us into those words. It was like, wow,
That's who we are.
For us, that was powerful. It's who we are.
Yeah, I get you what you're saying about judging, Jim. No, we don't have to judge all we see, and we definitely don't have to speak on everything we see. Sometimes it's better to let it go, because you could have approached that family and been like, hey, you know what? I'm Jim White from Colorado, where we put our shopping carts away, and what you're doing isn't right. And maybe they would have left the store and been like,
Yeah, that's the way we do it in Florida. That's where I was at. I don't know, Jim. I would love to have that answer, and maybe it was simply, and you don't just don't know how the conversation would go down, to go ask them.
right.
How do you guys feel about that?
What are you doing?
Are you okay with that? I just would like to know, because I couldn't do that.
I mean, I think so much of that is just how you're raised, Jim. I mean, we were, just speaking for you and I, if I'm at like the grocery store and I get something and I have it in the basket and then I'm like, oh, I don't want that, and I'm 5 aisles away, I go back 5 aisles and I put it back.
Right.
I just don't set the extra thing of ketchup next to the in the meat department.
Danishes.
Right? Yeah. That's not where it goes. I need to put it back where I got it. That's just how it
Yeah.
works, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that a lot of that is how you were raised. That's what you were taught. Whether it's right or wrong, I think depends on your families or your values, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got Holly so trained when we stop, because they're like in Florida, they're like King Soopers is Publix,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
Publix.
grocery stores. We're walking up with the couples we were there with and visiting, and there's like a shopping cart 2 aisles over, and Holly goes over and gets the shopping cart and brings it back and pushes it in the store with us. Those guys are all looking at her like.
I don't want no smoke, Jim. I'll go get it.
It's funny because when we go in a store, I always grab a shopping cart from outside and bring it in. That's just like
That's above and beyond.
I just grab the rogue cart and take it. I'm walking past it. I grab it, and that's my cart when I go in. So,
Tammie, you have any final thoughts?
Nope, I am good. I just thank all you guys for inviting me.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for taking the time
Yes.
out of
Yeah,
your day
absolutely.
and
Thank you.
being with us.
Super
Yeah.
Dave, you got final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm jonesing a little bit because I have a meeting scheduled in
Oh.
like 5 minutes.
Okay, we're going to make it.
So I got to get going.
We're going to make it.
Yeah.
Okay, so no final thoughts. Your final thought is a
My
Jones.
thought, right?
Well,
there.
that's his thought. We got to go.
We're doing the
Yeah, do
All
the
right,
creed.
so my final thought is Psalm 118:24. With all the doom and gloom, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So everybody have a good day.
Nice.
If you like today's podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Hit that follow button. If you didn't like it, hit the follow button anyway. Also, don't forget to go back and listen to last week's podcast and help find Ambyr's mom. The links to her story will be in today's description and the podcast description as well. So let's go ahead and say the creed. And by the way, Tammie, you have been part of the record-breaking longest podcast we've ever done.
Wow.
So just know that. We're at 2 hours and 45 minutes right
Wow.
now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That went by fast.
Who knew?
Doesn't it? It does. It
Yep.
does.
Together we face and overcome all that stands before us.
Together we're accident free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions.
And
Together we are the JFW family.
Thanks, everybody.
awesome.
Have a great day.
I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We worked for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.